Ladies and gentlemen, we are very honored to have you back here today. Where we're drinking the Pepsi, apparently.
No
And we're
branding.
here for another episode of The Good Society. I'm your host, Thomas Ferrari. I am world famous for my French accent. And we have here the lovely facilitator, Sarah, who's going to take it away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to DMs After Dark. You might notice something a little different today. We're not live. We will be, when you're watching this, we'll be in the chat, hanging out. But we are not live streaming just because life happens and we are 6 people who try and get together on a schedule, and that is hard. So we're testing this as a kind of backup in case, this needs to happen again. That way we can still get all of our games out at the right time. We definitely prefer it live so we can, have chat and enjoy your ridiculous jokes. But every now and again, this might happen. So I guess a couple quick housekeeping things. If you like what we do here and you haven't listened to our podcasts, you totally should. They're pretty cool. And every listen and review and rating really helps us a big deal. So we would really appreciate it. Even if you don't have to say anything in the review, you could just give it some stars and put a smiley face and a heart. That would make my fucking day.
Yep. Our podcast feed, by the way, is not just the episodes in audio format. Those will go up so you can catch up in podcast form if you like. If you don't want to go watch a YouTube video, or if you're just on the run, you can put your headphones in.
Faces.
But yeah, if you don't like my face or anyway, yeah,
or corn faces.
But also, we do have a separate podcast show called Modified Roles, where we talk all things RPG, from design to playing to DM advice, things like that. And we're goofing around with a few new ideas, which when you watch this tomorrow live, and then by the time this is out there in the world, we'll have at least one episode of Sarah's brainchild, 1d6, 1d4, which is a fun little quick-paced just topic show. It was very fun to record, and I can't wait to do more of them.
It's beautiful chaos. The brief premise of it is before I stream, I roll a d6, and whatever number is on there is how many of these fuckers I have to wrangle up for an episode between 1 through 6, which means I really don't hope I roll a 1, because that means it's just me, and that's weird. It's fine. And then live with the amount of people I have, I roll a d4, and that is how many minutes we each have to talk about a certain thing. I put a big timer on the screen and stress everyone out, and then we talk about whatever topic we have for that episode. I don't have a set recording schedule for that. It's just kind of when we can. There might be a set recording schedule for it. I don't know yet. But tonight, we are here, pre-recorded-ish, back in Good Society. Before we dive into the recap, Jess, there was something we wanted to talk about briefly, yes?
Yes, I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable about one of the rumors that we made, so I want to remove the rumor on Windress turning tricks for money. And see if we can kind of replace it with another rumor.
Bam.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Struck from the record.
Yeah, thanks.
It is gone. And Amber,
Beautiful use of the X/lines and veils.
Yeah,
good stuff, right?
It's a good X guard moment.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
and Amber, that was your one to create. So do you have one to replace with?
I have an idea, especially considering what happened to Windrith's father at the ending of the last episode. I would like there to be a rumor that her father is actually faking his disability because he is avoiding war crimes in his home country.
Oh,
that
shit.
Is so much fucking worse.
That's juicy.
All
that's
right.
so
I
much
can add
worse.
that in
Man,
there.
Ludwig is going to be all over that. Nice.
Oh, God. Ludwig probably made it up, bastard.
Giving
Probably
Ludwig
did.
ammo because I really want him to make my fucking day, if you know what I mean.
Oh, he's gonna make it last
Ludwig's-
fucking day.
Ludwig's going to die.
That's also giving
geez.
Ludwig more credit than I think he's due. But at the same time, it's a good.
No, Ludwig did not come up with that rumor. He's too stupid. He's just going to
Feed off
use
of
that
it,
as-
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a rube. and a
Who
follower.
did come up with that rumor? It's got to be somebody
Society.
with malicious intent.
No, it's not just going to be.
Sometimes, yeah, that's
Actually,
not
I
how-
could just, that's like a British person in general thing. Like, oh, look at this. Poor
Yeah.
person.
It's
Pretending to be hurt.
heathens.
Yeah.
These
Most of-
barbarians.
Think
Yes.
about
They're
how many
stiff upper
rich
lip.
people just like here look at somebody with a disability and they're like, oh, that person can walk. They're fine. Like,
Right. You're
they just
faking.
think that they're
Yeah.
milking the system or something.
Mhm.
People are rotten.
They do. They suck. People really suck.
True.
Invisible disabilities are real. Fuck you. So
And Windrath's father is like extremely visible. He had a
Yeah,
sister
it's like a
and-
TBI. Like,
Yeah, that guy ain't faking.
yeah.
So, in lieu of a recap, I wanted to go around at each character, give a brief reintroduction to the character and what happened to them last episode. Does anyone want to go first, or should I pick a random?
Team Chaos is random.
I can go first because Xavier hasn't really done too.
Xavier.
Typical wholesome move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Xavier just kind of came with Edith and escorted him to the Harvest Festival. He was a little bit nervous about some of the things that Edith wants to do at the festival, and he was just like, "All right, as long as this doesn't fall on me and you're safe, we'll be fine." And Xavier kind of met up with his secret lady friend and sat with her during the circus show. Yeah, I don't remember too much else that Xavier was doing. I think I had more fun playing.
Barnyard,
Yeah.
You did play a lot of future Parliament later.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was Xavier. Yep. Just enjoying the festival with his lady friend.
And you wrote a letter at the end too, Xavier, right?
I did. I wrote a letter to Lord Remington.
You
Like
and
everyone
everybody
else.
else.
Yes,
I know.
correct.
Remington.
Well, I mean,
Here's your mail, sire. Boof.
the man of
Exact.
highest station in this story is
Yes, and
certainly
he
somebody
just
who's going to
returned.
be held to responsibility, and there's expectations, Mister Lord Remington.
Remington doesn't really do expectations.
But yes, Xavier wrote a letter to Lord Remington, just letting him know how well Edith was doing and what a strong, capable person she has become, or she is.
Which Remington read, but did not respond since he was so inundated with mail.
Carpal tunnel sets in.
That's right.
Very wholesome Xavier.
Half of them you
Yeah.
open it up and it was a serious
Right.
XM ad.
Bah. Right. We've been trying to reach you regarding your carriage
Oh, God.
warranty.
I'll go next if that's okay, because
Yeah.
Jess
Yeah.
mentioned Xavier accompanying Edith to the Harvest Festival. My character Edith is now a 16-year-old girl, a heiress with a title, and a lot is expected of her in the coming months. And this Harvest Festival was a big kind of deal for her. So last time I showed up fashionably late on Xavier's arm. And like to play instigator a little bit, along with some things that Edith is working out on her own. But one of the main things she was going to do was try and find a way to push Xavier off in the direction of a one Martha Moore, because Edith very much enjoys, one, watching Xavier squirm in those conditions, and two, watching a relationship form. Like it's something that, as a young noble woman, she's probably been told vagaries about and probably gotten the wrong kind of impression, really. And watching it unfold in front of her eyes is both entertaining and enlightening. But for herself, Edith, I spent last session visiting the stables once I got rid of Xavier on my arm, who is my he is my governor, he is my teacher basically, and chaperone. But once I pawned him off on Martha, I went to the stables to visit Windrath, who is a potential love interest, a confounding sort of budding relationship to Edith. So I spent a little bit of time with her before I was interrupted by Catherine, who needed Windrath for some horse talk. And Edith spent the rest of the time, unfortunately, on the arms of Barnard,
Barnard.
a young up and coming new money man named Barney Gillingham, who is basically kind of been nudged, and it's kind of, we're being drawn together by society as a very good setup. For him, he gets a title and a track to Parliament. For me, I get a influx of a husband, but also promising with young money. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
With new money. So it's looks good on paper, but it doesn't feel right in Edith's heart. So when she finally saw her father at the Lord Remington enter the circus tent, she quickly attempted to warn him or say, "Please don't set me up with this boy."
I can't imagine why. Barney is lovely.
Yeah,
Absolutely lovely.
Barney's lovely for sure. For someone, maybe not Edith.
One day you'll make someone happy.
And then
Just not me.
as Remington, his butler, I don't know what you'd call him, solicitor, Joffrey.
Yeah.
Barney
Joffrey.
and my minor connection, Paul, got into a conversation about business and opportunity. Edith dipped out very casually, just kind of, oh, the boys are talking money and business. I'm going to eat. And
I'm going to yeet the beautiful Regency slang.
yes.
I shall yeet.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
We're going to take a quick yeet about the pond.
Yeet on me later. Maybe
no.
not that.
Oh, no.
No,
Maybe
that's
not
I
that.
believe that's
Maybe
skeet
not.
on me later. And that's recorded. Okay. go
Yep, yeet on me later. And then my
Yeet
other
got
connection my other character, my minor character is Paul, who got himself involved in a potential scandal, becoming a whiskey baron, becoming so he's
and tried to fix a horse race.
I stopped watching
Yes.
to watch this horse for 5 fucking minutes.
yeah, Paul
There he is.
Paul is a young man who is out to prove himself despite having a family with all the money in the world that he'd never have to do anything. And he is fucking it up every step of the way.
Well, speaking of Paul, why don't we bump on over to Catherine, the other Ives child?
Yeah, I am playing Catherine Ives, Paul's older sister. Recently widowed. Her family, as Rainey mentioned, is quite wealthy. They're new money. They made their fortune in the horse breeding business. The Ives horses are internationally famous. Even there are Ives horses in the King's stables. They're highly sought after. They're incredible animals. They win lots of races. They have lots of prestige. They are status symbols. So quite a bit of money, but it wasn't too long ago in her family. Her grandfather was the one that sort of started that from humble origins. So they're not so far removed from an ordinary life that they've become incredibly stuck up just yet. But still, Catherine has never done a day of hard labor in her life. She does, however, enjoy working with the horses personally. And she's getting back to that after the tragic death of her husband, still wearing her funeral black. She's accompanying her brother because she's incredibly protective of him. And she doesn't want to see him get eaten alive in a society that she knows all too well can be quite vicious for all the pomp and circumstance. So she's keeping an eye on him as we're going through and enjoying the festival. But also, she can't resist beautiful horse. She is her father's daughter. And there was an incredible animal that she saw in the stables. And once she saw this stallion, she just had to know who the owner was. During the introductory event with the circus, a masked rider came out and did several riding tricks and stunts and whatnot on this magnificent animal, only to reveal himself as Lord Remington Harcourt. Shit, it's someone with money. Undeterred and determined to get her hands on that horse one way or another, Catherine wrote Lord Harcourt a letter offering a friendly wager, a race. If Catherine's horse wins the race, Lord Harcourt is going to grant her family stud rights to the animal for a year. If Harcourt wins the race, Catherine will make an introduction to his daughter, between his daughter and her younger brother. We'll see how that goes. Paul also, this is the same race Paul is trying to fix right now. There's no communication going on, so I'm sure that's gonna fuck up gloriously.
Everything's coming up, Paul.
For the family and the business, neither speaking to each other about it at all, just making plans behind each other's backs. It'll be lovely. Meanwhile, Martha, who is having a fling with the much younger Xavier and just enjoying herself in the festival and sort of the liberty that comes with being a woman past marriageable age and free of all those expectations, set with her own money, able to do what she wants. So she's enjoying her little romance with Xavier, who is a nerd. A complete nerd. He's so embarrassed and so shy, and she's terribly amused by this, but nonetheless, he's quite taken with her and she enjoys the attention. They attended the grand opening together, but Martha was quite shocked at the reveal of our masked rider here, because it is an old flame from her past. Lord Harkart is no stranger to her, though they have not spoken in quite some time. She was shocked by his appearance. He usually travels and has been away for ever, leaving other people to raise his daughter. But he is back, and with Xavier on her arm, she is not quite sure what to make of that, but it did shock her, and she did dramatically drop her drink. Xavier did not notice.
I feel like I should go next, since
I was gonna say, let's pop this over to Remington.
So, I mean, you've heard a lot of what Remington did already. Remington has been away traveling. He's the sort of lord that travels and goes off and does things. So he was exploring Canada and Russia and took up with a circus and thought it would be fun. And so traveled back to town with the circus, because Lord Remington does things like that, mostly to embarrass his daughter. But the horse is his. It's a nice bay that he got out traveling. And he made his big reveal. He did see Martha, although it has been many, many years since he's seen her. She is still as beautiful as ever. And he saw his daughter, who begged him not to introduce him to Barney, but that's something they need to talk about now that she's of marriageable age, and this is her big debutante affair. But he's also needs to talk to his solicitor, Joffrey, who Troy is playing, because traveling around the world and funding expeditions costs money.
Tips, put your hat down, man.
And Lord Remington isn't the best with money, and money's probably running out. Yeah, that's what Joffrey. He just trusted Joffrey and spent the money. And you know what? When Edith wanted something, Edith got something, and that's expensive.
Edith wants a circus now.
Joffrey cries Daddy, all the time.
Daddy, Papa.
This is yours, darling. Yeah, so it's darling gets what darling wants. So that's where Remington is. And then he got back to his manor and was absolutely just inundated with mail. One of which was the bet with Catherine, which he is a betting man, so he'll always take up. One was a nice one from Xavier about his daughter, but he hasn't had a chance again to reply to that one. Because my secondary character, Ludwig, also intercepted some mail last time. And Ludwig McSnore is an asshole, is the best way to put it. And he is the creepy ass landlord to Troy's character, Windrith. And he's trying to creep on her, which I did at the beginning of our episode last week. and then intercepted a letter offering her employment at Barnyard Barney Monagham's stables, because Ludwig wants her poor, and because he'll have more leverage over her that way.
I actually meant to check in on this. Ludwig intercepted Barnard's letter to Windrith.
Correct.
Yes.
Edith also wrote a letter.
Replied as Windrith, saying no.
Yes, but Windrith sent a letter to Lord Remington about her feelings for Edith, and Joffrey opened that one. Yeah.
Joffrey intercepted that.
That's correct.
That was a good letter, by the way, guys.
It was a great letter.
If you haven't read it, you gotta go back. Listen.
I have, didn't I, as Edith, write a letter to Windrith?
You did.
Yeah, veiled as concern for her father, but written
more,
to.
Yes.
What, that was not intercepted, or was that intercepted?
No, it wasn't intercepted.
Okay, so that got through. Sweet.
Yeah.
And speaking of Windrith.
Yeah, so I am playing Windrith Ellingsworth. She is one of 5. She has 4 younger brothers in her family. She is not from good society. She came here from Scandinavia with her family after her father was injured in the war. She is a soldier. She was a kennel stable master in the war. So she took care of the horses, worked on training them, feeding them, keeping them healthy, that kind of stuff. And because of that, she has really hit it off with Amber's character, Catherine, right? Ives.
Yes.
They get along very well because of their love for horses. She also, as Christian alluded to, has a landlord, Ludwig, who essentially, he did help their family get here, and gave them like a small plot of land and a very modest like little shack of a house. And he's been basically using any leverage that he can to manipulate her and try to leverage what he's done for her family against her. She's kind of the cornerstone for her family because her father is nonverbal and he's disabled after his injury, essentially. And Windrith's mom is just exhausted with life from trying to raise the family. So Windrith has kind of taken over in that role. Windrith also has fallen madly in love with Edith. And
she laid it bare, y'all.
Yes, she did.
And that letter,
Windrith is not. Yeah, she is not
a lot of things, but she ain't no coward.
Yeah, she's not privy to the good society ways, and yeah, she laid it bare. She told Lord Remington how he's traveled to Scandinavia, he's been to her home country, and how he's seen the way that the dew covers the verdant green hills, in the morning's rays, and how that reminds Windrith of Edith's eyes, and how she reminds Windrith of a simpler time before the war and before the world went to shit. So yeah, she really kind of just laid it bare. At the end of the carnival, after the grand finale, Windrith's father had a seizure, and they had to leave the carnival that night. So they had to leave early to go home and take care of her pa. And when we were all doing the letter phase, she actually rode out with her father to like this little tiny like meadow, this little secluded area that they go to. And it was in the dark of night. So the only thing that was, they had a little shitty lantern and the light of the stars in the sky. And she was writing the letter and reading the letter out loud to like her father. And it was just a really, I don't know, I just pictured that as a really cinematic moment for her. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Oh, side note. So Joffrey intercepted Windrith's letter to Lord Remington, and he replied saying that he wanted to meet with her and Paul at the Ives estate. Or I'm sorry, he replied to Paul saying he wanted to meet him at the Ives estate.
Yeah, I think it was at a time he knew Windrith would be there.
At a time he knew Windrith would be there. Yep. Yeah. So that was also something that they organized. Yeah. And Paul is a whiskey baron.
And Paul is a
soon to be.
That's right. Paul wrote the letter to the
Johnson
brothers. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I wrote that down. Don't worry.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. That's all I got.
I think we're good.
So, we are moving into the second half of the cycle of play, which is the secondary novel chapter. I believe we had discussed that this was going to be a visitation chapter with an event at the end being the second horse, the horse race. And then depending on how things go, this might be the end of the game, or we might have one more half a cycle after us. Not sure. We'll find out. So in terms of visitation, where do we want to start?
What is visitation again? Remind me quickly.
We're running around to each other's houses and estates and
yeah, that's basically what it is. Instead of everyone being at one place, like they were at the festival, that's an event. Visitation is bouncing between each other's houses.
We are making calls to one another's estates.
Gotcha.
I think it might be good to start with Remington and Edith, just because they're in the same house anyway. So they don't even need to visit. They could just be eating breakfast. Yes. I don't know if the big English breakfast is a thing in the Regency period, but that's something Remington would eat for sure.
They're eating a scone or something.
No, he's got the full English, man. Beans and sausage and eggs and tomatoes, all that shit.
I think Xavier would probably be there too, not eating with you both, but he probably lives
Yeah,
on your estate.
that's fine. You can be there for breakfast. Actually, yes, you were invited to breakfast because you sent a very nice letter.
Yes, I know. I remember.
That's right.
Well, and honestly, Xavier probably takes his meals with Edith when Lord Remington's not here anyway, right?
Yeah.
As a household, like as we are, it's probably.
Xavier, a good etiquette teacher. Does he know all the etiquette? Does he make sure she uses the right forks and stuff?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. On the outside, work your way in.
Yes.
It's probably something along the lines of Joffrey. If Joffrey can be bothered to sit down for breakfast, he's probably panicking first thing when he wakes up. But Xavier and Edith probably take their meals together, so it would make sense that he'd be there if we want him in this seat.
Sure. I think maybe if you don't mind arriving a little bit later, because I think there's
totally
some stuff
fine.
There's
He's
some
sleeping off the Lefroy.
there's some father-daughter stuff that has to be talked about.
I love it.
So so Lord Remington's just eating. He's up early. He's eating his big breakfast already. And I would say Edith probably just arrives.
Yes, Edith arrives a little later, having to be presentable when she leaves her bedchambers, and comes down with her hair all done up from one of the handmaidens and whatnot, and just walks down to breakfast and looks around, sees the full English, and kind of just picks at a few grapes or something, like some just a few small things. Like looks, this is not typically what is the spread when Remington's not here. So she's like,
and he's just like knife and fork, chowing.
Whole piece of ham, just.
No, he's not disgusting, but he's knife and fork chowing.
Xavier's probably actually gotten there early and is just like sitting there unsure of what to do because Edith's not here.
Gray, he's very gray.
Okay, actually, we can do that. Let's say that Xavier's already there.
That's actually really funny.
That is, and he's eating, and Remington is just like, I after that wonderful letter you sent, I just had to invite you over to have a spot of tea and some food.
Oh.
Eat.
Thank you. That was very most kind. Not necessary at all, but I appreciate the meal and the wages, and Edith is doing very well.
Yes, so I've heard. I'm very proud of what you've done with her.
I just wonder where she is right now. She runs a little late, getting ready probably, or doing this on purpose. Who knows?
Or doing this to spite me. I hate that.
Meanwhile, standing around a door corner, just listening, going, "Ooh, here it is! Here it comes! Here it comes!" Is Edith.
Yes.
So, I noticed you looking at the horses yesterday.
Oh, me?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, I don't know.
At the show, I saw you in the audience.
Oh, yes, I've never been to a circus before.
Really?
You ride quite well. Yes.
Oh well,
Oh, he saw you with his old flame.
something you pick up when I grew up with it. So.
What was her name? Martha Moore?
Yes.
Don't even remember her name. You don't deserve her.
No, it's true. It's true. Yes, I noticed. Are you an old friend of Martha's? I noticed you looking her way from time to time.
Did notice. Yes, I've Martha and I know each other. Yes.
I'd like to spend a resolve token to, for once in his life, Xavier grows a backbone on this one and stands his ground on Martha.
Ooh,
snap.
What do you think, Jess?
I mean, I'll take it, but I don't even know what that's like.
It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be aggressive.
Martha, you're like, yes, we are courting.
Yeah.
No. I like it.
It doesn't have to be aggressive, but
Yes.
mostly just like I would love for Xavier to stand up to his employer.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So Edith, give one to Xavier. So you just uncheck a box on your screen and then just check a box on yours.
Okay. All right.
Ba-boom.
Oh yes, Martha, an old friend of yours. You know, she's doing quite well herself. She's moved on quite a bit since then.
Excellent.
Grown and all that.
Grown.
Haven't we all?
I don't know, have we?
Grown. Old.
Oh,
Fucking
He
nerd
just stops and
dagger.
stares at you for that one.
My apologies. I just mean, well, you've been gone for quite some time. I tell me about your travels and you must
well,
have seen
yes.
the world.
Parts of it. Not all of it yet, but parts of it. Canada was where I was recently. Then I came back.
Dreadful
Canada's
country,
huge.
I hear.
No, very friendly people. Very friendly people.
There are no
Everybody's your
books from
buddy or your
Canada.
guy or your friend.
The Mounties are quite exceptional.
I was actually gonna say when he mentions having just recently come back from Canada, if that's okay for Edith to make her entrance, but
Yeah, it's like-
you guys tell me.
Sure.
No, go ahead.
And she would walk in, and that's when she would be like, "And tell me again, Father, what did you bring me from this Canada?"
They call it bacon.
They
Canadian
call it bacon. It's right here.
Maple
Yes.
syrup.
Yes.
Like regular
Well,
bacon, but worse.
The horse that I got and bought here, the bay.
For me.
Canadian.
Yes.
You pushed a Mountie right off of him.
In the name of universal healthcare,
In the name of Her Majesty. And he just took the horse.
Wow. Yeah. Edith would. Actually, that's great. Edith would. Her eyebrows would rise for a moment, and she would realize what that means, and she would say, like, "Then would it
that's
fall
your
to
horse.
me to find people to care for this horse?"
Of course, it would be yours.
Best
Well.
gift ever.
I'm going to have to learn a few things, but I believe there are a few connections that I made recently that could do well. Have you heard of the Ives family
Oh,
and their?
Very good idea. Monologue. Right when you find out you're getting the horse. Monologue.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
anyone could spend a monologue.
Are you
token.
using your monologue token on Edith?
No, I was gonna say Sarah posted in the chat. We made the Canadian bacon joke. She said Canadian Bay hyphen con.
Yeah, he's a Canadian bacon. Yeah.
Like
Oh,
he conned
yeah.
some man out of this bay, and I wanted to monologue how that happened.
Oh, you want a
But-
Remington story of how
Yeah.
he got the
Oh,
horse?
Remington.
Oh, you want a Remington story about how I got the horse?
Yeah, and it has to be a Canadian Bay con. Like you had to con somebody out of it, whether it was
Fucking
like,
A, man. Okay. Give me a monologue so I get something for this, right?
Fucking Bay, man. Fucking
I'm
Bay,
gonna
man.
spend a monologue token to do
I
this.
don't know if
that's
you
okay.
get one. I think it's just
Don't I
spending a
get
token,
something if
right?
someone spends one on me or no?
Nope. So what
No.
happens is Troy would use his monologue token, and then you would get underneath your resolve token. So it'll be something that says, "Have you monologued this cycle?" You would change that to yes.
Okay.
And in terms of, I'm gonna briefly switch cycle to game in our case because we're only doing so many episodes.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Are
we
you
would get
sure? Because
monologue
that's kind of a silly monologue. I could do a better monologue later. There's a lot going on.
We have another
then-
monologue token for our side characters too, right? We each have two.
Side characters do not have monologue tokens.
Oh, they don't.
Oh, really?
One.
Okay.
I was just
Per-
gonna say,
one per
Christian,
series?
like, oh wait, can you only monologue once per game then?
Yes.
Technically,
Oh.
yes.
Oh,
Mm.
Yeah.
each character can only monologue once per game.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
per
then no,
cycle.
I won't use it on that. Never mind.
Okay. All
Don't
right.
waste it.
That would be funny.
Yeah, I
but
thought we each
no.
had one token, but
No, if you
gotcha.
want to spend a resolve token and have me just tell the story, I will.
Hmm.
And
Can
that
I
could
do
be a way to
that?
still
Yeah,
do it.
resolve token. You feel the need
Because
to
monologue
write
is
the story.
monologue would be Remington talking about like his feelings about conning a Mountie out of the
Sure.
horse. But
Okay.
the resolve token
gonna
is just forcing me to tell a stupid story about Canada again. I'm sorry, Canada.
I'm gonna spend here's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna spend a resolve token of Joffrey's, and I'm gonna have you monologue this, and it has to do with conning in one way or another.
Conning a Canadian out of the horse.
and
Yeah.
he's gonna come in on the very end of that, hearing about you conning somebody out of money, and then he's gonna be like, "The estate has hope yet."
Okay. All right. So yes, the Bay. Actually, I don't believe I have given it a name yet. Believe it or not, I've just been
Well,
calling it the
Old
Bay.
It's
Bay.
Edith's, right? Shouldn't-
I've said, Old
Shouldn't
Bay.
she?
Yes.
Oh,
Goes with
no.
everything.
The horse's name is Clamboyle.
Father, can I please rename the horse?
Of course. It's your a horse. A horse is a
Universal
horse. Is your horse.
healthcare.
The horse, of course, is my horse. I would mean
The horse, of course, is your horse. You can name the
Universal
horse.
healthcare?
Thank you for hearing
So-
it.
Oh my god!
I heard it. Too, Sam.
Can you
So there I
imagine
was.
a horse race and I'm betting on
And it's Universal Healthcare.
Yes, because racehorses have the wildest fucking names because they all have to be different from one another. So you can't have two racehorses with the same names. That's why
Hump
they're
jumping
wild.
would be a good name for a racehorse. So, so there I was. I was in Canada. Saskatchewan was the name of the place. Horrible place. Bunch of dirty little people. So anyway, I was there, and they have these policemen. They call them Mounties, right? And so I was in a bar. Everybody was drinking. Everybody was having a good time, and they have this sport, axe throwing. Fascinating, barbaric, interesting, very similar to darts. I, as you know, at university, was an expert dart player. So I start betting with these people, and I've come to realize that, number one, they're not that smart. And number two, I'm much better than all of them at it. So what I did was I threw a bunch of games. I just lost. And each time I lost, I was like, oh no, let me try again. Until finally I had this Mountie very, very, very confident in himself that he could beat me, right? So at last I wagered, my gold pocket watch and my ring. I wagered them. Last things I had, right? The family ring with the signet crest on it.
This is when Joffrey walks into the room.
Against his horse, Old Bay. And of course, I just demolished the man and took his horse. He told me I was not his buddy guy afterwards, but I didn't care because I took the horse. Oh, Joffrey, good morning.
Joffrey's like,
You've met Xavier, right? Wonderful chap.
Joffrey's like,
You hired him. What am I thinking?
Oh, yes, Xavier. Hi. Oh, gosh. I do have the worst headache. Are those fresh strawberries?
Little rancid, but
A
go
little
for it.
late in the season, no? Oh, we must have paid a fortune for these. He pops one into his mouth.
Don't waste money.
So how go things, Joffrey?
Yes, things go well here at the Remington estate. I've been meaning to talk to you about your travel plans coming up. You said you were anticipating going somewhere else very soon?
Australia.
Oh, Australia. Okay, yes.
It's where they send the criminals. Can't wait to see it.
So you're leaving
Sure.
again,
That will be fascinating.
Not right away, but
but soon.
well, I have to see to Edith here.
Perhaps we can postpone these plans for just a little bit. I'm sure that Edith wants to see you and spend some time with you. You've been gone for so long. Istanbul to Canada, Scandinavia, Russia. Yeah,
That's why I met Tomas, actually.
Thomas. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mr. Thackeray.
We've heard about Mr. Thackeray.
Yes, Father. Regarding your exploits, one, you and this Thomas, how close are you?
The tea is ready. I'm going to go get that. And
I
he
believe-
hurriedly walks out of the room.
I would be interested in learning more about the circus itself and its potential acquisition. It seems like
We should just buy the whole section.
You want to buy the circus? Is that what you're saying?
well, I'm not one for business. You know, I've been schooled in many things, but finances are not one of them. But I believe that I did see them collecting quite a bit of coin from each of the people going in last night. It's, and it keeps things interesting, I think.
It does, but it's a hard life. Believe it or not, people don't like the circus. They think they're thieves.
Father, I would not be joining the circus. You understand? It would simply be something under our control.
I'd be making
To
friends.
invest in.
I mean, we can talk with Thomas, but it is his family circus. He's been running it for quite some time.
You seem quite well acquainted to Thomas.
Yes, we go way back. Why?
No, I'm just wondering how such a unique relationship formed.
At this point, Joffrey walks into the room and hears you still
Would you
talking
like to hear
about
that
this.
story?
I stole my horse.
He hears you still
That's right.
talking about this, and he's like, "Oh, I need more teacups. Sorry, I miscounted." And he hurriedly runs back out like, "God damn that!"
Well, Father, I'm going to go get acquainted with my new horse, and I would please beg you to stay longer than last time. A mere month is not long enough for a daughter to bond with her father. And
Fair enough, dude.
I wink at Xavier.
Yeah, Xavier's just looking at you like, please don't leave. Please don't leave.
Yep, and I wink at Xavier and I just say like, oh, new toys, and I leave.
Oh, wait, darling, one thing.
Yes.
There's one minor bit of business about the horse. I bet Catherine Ives that it would in a race.
Do you have a
Fine.
rider for this race, or
Do I what now?
do we have a rider for the race?
We do not.
Well, Father, I would hope that
Do you know
don't
someone?
make a bet.
I've got tips.
Yeah. Edith says, I will make inquiries about the town.
I trust your judgment, daughter.
And I get
As you
a
should.
very devious smile because now I get to go to town. And Edith leaves.
Okay.
Solid.
Xavier,
Okay,
we should drink. Joffrey, get
Drink?
some drinks. Yes, of course.
I'm afraid
Makes
I don't really indulge in
Tell me you're a Puritan. Come on.
spirits and
It's like 8 in the morning.
such.
Joffrey walks in and plops some Lefroy down in front of him.
No,
There it is.
Perhaps
Hair of the dog, my boy.
He just takes
taps him on
the thing
back.
out of the bottle again. It just pours you a glass, like right, just
Oh,
Oh,
right in
Hair
front
of
of
the
you.
dog, my boy.
and then
Hair of
drinks out of the
dog.
bottle.
oh. Perhaps Edith really shouldn't go into town alone.
Why? It's a wonderful town.
Sure.
Is Joffrey well acquainted with Xavier? 'Cause you've
Yes.
been-
Yeah, you pay me.
Yeah, you hired him. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
pay me.
Joffrey looks at you and he goes, she has to manage a brand new horse. She doesn't need to manage you as well, Xavier. Come on now, drink.
Thank you. You are both
Just like
most
mixing drinks. You're
kind.
Like, it's called a blowjob. Xavier just dies.
Oh God.
All right.
We invented the blowjob cocktail about 500 years too early.
If I am reading what was sent to me correctly,
Ooh, secret messages.
yeah, I was not secrets in the general chat. Would it make sense for Windrith to have been summoned to the Ives estate?
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Got
just
it
started.
first. Yes.
Yeah, Windrith,
Oh, dear.
so
Oh, Troy, I think you just muted yourself.
I'm sorry. Can you describe the estate, Catherine? Like, I wanted like a nice picture of like how it comes from like the main road, the grounds, the manor. Like, give me a quick overlay, real quick.
Yeah, the Ives estate is set far, far back from the main road. There is a winding but well-packed and maintained road that just rolls across. There's just a lot of hilly country, tons of land around the estates, and the stables are very close to the main house. Like that's the heart of the estate is the stables and the manor house next to each other, and then there's all this beautiful land around it, and it's used for the horses. Horses are taken out to different pastures, allowed to roam to some degree, just ridden for joy through the countryside.
Mhm.
The manor itself is impressive. It is a lot of stonework. There are lots of windows, which are, pricey,
Expensive, yeah.
expensive. Many rooms and guest rooms. There's even a little carriage house too for guests and whatnot.
Okay.
There's people coming in and out all the time. There's lots of carriage traffic, people coming through. They do a lot of their business right at their own home. So people who are interested
Gotcha.
in breeding or making an offer or purchasing a horse or
Okay.
or breeding a horse to order come by the Ives estates, and it's not uncommon for people from all over to talk business right in their stables.
Okay.
There are actually offices. Her father's office is in the stables itself. It's not in the main house.
Okay. So can we have planned to meet here? Maybe I was going over the stables or
Yep, meet at the stables. That's something that we've established over our working relationship. When I asked to meet with you, like you'll find me in the stables, basically. That's just
Okay.
where you head.
so what I would like is so normally when Windrith meets you here, she brings her horse. They have a draft horse at the home. Nothing that would be suitable for racing, but it's a workhorse because they work the fields with it and stuff like that. But on this day, she did not have the liberty of taking the horse because Connor needed it to do some, late farming and stuff after the harvest. So Windrith wakes up very, very early morning before the sun is up. And one thing that Windrith always does is she always brings her own tools. So whether it's, she just has like a bag full of like tools that they use to clean hooves and various, like maybe a small little shovel or something like that. She always insists on bringing her own equipment. And she's carrying this heavy bag of tools. It's probably like 40 pounds because all the tools are metal and kind of cumbersome. And she just trucks. She trucks from her home to your home on foot. And it takes her probably several hours. She's walking through the wee hours of the morning before the sun is up. I would imagine it's probably cold outside. And as she's doing this, she's just getting these kind of flashbacks. She's walking and you hear just the soft sounds of early morning. You hear some of the birds chirping. You hear the crunching of the stones and the rocks on the gravel road beneath her feet. And then in her mind, it just pans back to, her with her regiment. And they're all trudging through the hills and the fields. And, she's tired. She's sweaty. She's been marching for days. They're going to the next forward base camp or whatever, meeting up with a cavalry regiment. And then she just comes to again, and she's been walking for hours and time just slipped away from her. And before she realizes it, she's at the manor and she's breathing heavily, and she kind of like adjusts the bag on her shoulder and steadies herself. She just takes a big breath in and breathes out. And she goes ahead and she walks forward into the stable area.
All right. Catherine is in the stables. She has a horse taken out of its individual stable. It's hooked up in the middle of the walkway, and she's working on the horse. She's brushing it down. She's gone through, and you can see like the hoof pick is out. There's dirt and crud on the floor. She's already gone through and picked the horse's hooves. It's a beautiful, almost blue-black Andalusian horse. It's one of their best horses. You're familiar with her.
Wow.
This one came from Spain. They shipped this horse overseas, and this horse is here now. Gorgeous animal. And she sees you as you approach, and she says, Windrith, I am so glad to see you. Have you eaten yet? Have you had breakfast?
Windrith looks at you and she says, I had breakfast this morning before I came. What are you doing? You're going to get dirt under your fingernails.
I like to work with the horses sometimes with my hands when I have the time.
It is calming.
I will not waste your time. I have a job for you. Pays well.
Right. Well, I brought my tools, and she kind of like dumps her bag on the ground, and she's like, I can work all day if you need me to. Connor's at home with Pa.
Nothing like that.
She kind of like tilts her head like a little confused. And she's also like, God damn it, did I carry this all the way here?
I'm proud, but I'm not so proud that I can't recognize skill and talent. And I love horses. I love this horse. I'm an excellent rider, but you're better. You're a better rider than me. And I've made a wager with Lord Remington, a race tonight, his bay, and I've chosen my Andalusian. If we win, we get stud rights. I'm sure you can imagine the matches we could make already.
Windrith, like, her jaw drops a little bit, and she's like, that's quite the wager. I'm honored that you have so much faith in me, Catherine, but I mean, what did you wager?
Oh, a introduction between his daughter and my brother, Paul. Just an introduction. I'm sure Paul would dick it up, So really the lion's share, it would go with, I get the better end of this wager. It's a wager in my favor, as you can see.
Windrith kind of, her face kind of goes a little blank for a quick second before she catches her.
Or maybe they'd hit it off. I don't know, teenagers.
Right. When did you say the race was?
Do we know? Is it tonight? It's going to be.
It's tonight.
Is it
Oh,
tonight,
shit.
like as the finale for like the festivities, or is it like to kick them off?
It's the end of the festivities is the horse race. It's you would have heard that the kind of before dusk, it's before sundown, it'll be all
Just before sundown, while the lighting is still good for spectators.
Exactly, and that way, the people can clear everything out by nighttime.
Yep, the track is going to be around the village square, like village, city square, town square.
It would be cool if a lot of like Formula One races and stuff like that are based in like the streets of big cities.
They go right through
Europe.
town.
They go
Yeah.
right through towns. So it'd be really cool if there was like a specific like course through the small village.
Yeah.
That like is cordoned off so people can watch from like their front
Yeah.
yards or whatever.
Let's call it the Gambler's Run.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be the Gambler's Run just before sundown today. So you don't have a lot of time to get to know her, but you've worked with her before. She rides like a dream. Her name is Maid of the Lake.
Maid of the Lake, eh?
Yeah, Arthurian
And,
and all that.
Windrith
she's prophetic.
Windrith kind of looks past you a little bit, and she grabs a bushel of straw or hay, brings it up to the horse, and the horse eats it out of her hand. And she kind of grabs like a little handful of from the ground, and she, rubs it together in her hands, and then brushes her hands off on her pant legs. And she looks at the horse, and she says, "I." And she kind of like stands tall, like puts her head like towards the nose of the horse, and she says, "Maiden of the Lake, are you ready to ride like the wind?" And she turns around and she says,
"Take that, Remington."
she turns around and she says, "Lady Catherine, I'll make sure you get those stud rights. Mark my word."
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. And she has a moment of very unladylike, shameless gloating. It's just her and Windrith. It's fine.
And
she's like, "Take that, Lord Harcourt. You're gonna be walking to your next adventure."
and she looks at the and she looks again at the horse, like for a long moment, and she's thinking like,
We're really
this is really important, and we need to win this.
And you've worked with the Ives horses a bunch before. So the Ives horses just kind of know you, Windrith. So like they're used to you, and you're just like a normal presence for them. So it would be easy for this one in particular, being Catherine's favorite, to just like, oh yeah, this one, I know her. She's cool.
She knows you. You just haven't had a lot of riding experience on her.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's probably been a little while since Windrith has rode a racing horse. Like she rides the draft horse regularly, and you bet your ass that she races it through the fields and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Just bareback, like without a
pushes
saddle.
it. Just pushes
Hair
it
in the
hard.
wind, very
Yeah.
cinematic.
Hell yeah. Yes.
It's her like Mr. Darcy coming out of the water kind of visual.
Mm-hmm. Very much. Very much. Yeah. She also turns around and she says, "I'm sorry, I know you have a lot going on today, Catherine, and I hate to be a burden, but Pa had another episode last night, and he's not doing too well. I do need to go home first before the race tonight, and I'd like to borrow a horse. Perhaps I could take Lady of the Lake. Or Maiden of the Lake."
Maid of the Lake, yeah. She has a moment of hesitation where she's just a little bit worried at that request.
I can take any horse if you'd like.
Perhaps we leave Maid in the stables just in case. No, it'd be a tragedy to risk her catching a rock or something before the big race.
Of course.
But I have any of these fellas over here. They'll get you home quick.
She says, "Thank you, Catherine. You've been very kind to me and my family."
Windrith, this would be a big win for us. It would make us a lot of money. So, in addition to your pay, if we have a doctor, we could have him make a house call for you, Pa. It'd be a small thing on top of for the it'd be a small thing compared to what you could win us tonight.
Windrith kind of she kind of like looks a little bit off, like away from you. She breaks eye contact and she says, "That's a nice offer, Catherine. We can cross that bridge when we get there."
All right. Charlie, get some breakfast to go for Windrith. And her paw.
Actually,
get a full basket. She's got a lot of brothers. You know how much one eats.
That is true. Philip eats like a horse.
Charlie, one of your stable boys who just had recognizes Windrith on sight, just, "You got it, ma'am," runs off to the house.
Runs off to get the food trouble. It's just a big sack full of cheese and biscuits and shit.
I love
you just dump it on the table and your little brother's like
he swore.
Cheese and biscuits, whole salami. He's like
he comes back with it in a couple of bundles so you can put it in saddlebags on the horse for her ride home.
Nice.
Like hard cheese is definitely a thing, but we were just talking about burgers. So when you said that, I just imagined a bag full of sliced cheese, and I was like, what? And then I realized that I was thinking wrong.
Just liquid queso.
Yeah.
I mean, my brain, as soon as you said hard cheese, talking about burgers, my brain went bite into cheese wheel like burger.
Brains are just going all over today.
Oh, this is like the quality content you get at DMs After Dark, whether we're live or not. None of our brain cells are functioning.
Yep.
Maybe
we're crafting quite a compelling.
We
really are coming up though. Like there's a lot of threads going right now.
Maybe as Windrith is leaving the stables, Paul maybe walks along, or she sees Paul on her way out, and she just looks at him and very kind of coldly, just indifferently, she just says, "Paul." And she keeps walking.
I think Paul, I don't know how Paul would feel about someone like Windrith. I think that as somebody who's trying to prove and make himself, he would see Windrith's like hardworking spirit and be like, "She's cool. Like she's really good with our horses. Like she makes my sister money. Like cool, right?" But and it's because you just found out about all right.
You betcha. That's cool. Exactly why.
Yeah.
Totally fucking clueless.
Doesn't win this race.
So he just like gets the cold nod and he just looks and he's just like,
"What I do?"
He goes, Windrith, and he continues on to see Catherine and he goes, "Is the stable hen girl okay? She seemed a little edgy."
Her father's indisposed right now. He's taken a bad turn last night. I hope he'll be all right.
It's terrible.
I offered her our doctor and she refused. Should I send him anyway?
Nothing a good blood leeching couldn't
Nothing
help.
a good leech.
All right, hold on.
Can't hurt.
Hold on, we're past leeching.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Our doctor.
They keep leeches in the hospitals now today.
Yeah, we still use leeches.
Leeching was absolutely a thing.
Yeah,
we do. We still use leeches.
Yeah, they're just past like hitting you with like a twig, like you know.
They're like, you know what you need? Tray panning.
Shit, you know what?
Yeah, it was a thing.
Europe,
it was like
the practice continued. Oh no! Well, the practice continued to be relatively common until the end of the 18th century.
Okay.
Just go and give him laudanum. Just give everyone laudanum.
We are
poppy. They're just on. We just feed them heroin.
Lord, and give me my laudanum.
We are just beyond the end of the 18th. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So Paul is confused. I want to get back to a scene with Paul, but I believe Christian wanted to have a scene or Remington.
Well, that. But do we want to also do Ludwig and Windrith?
So
which one do you want to do first?
I was actually
going
to
say
say
back to the farm, so there's some time there.
Edith was going to take a detour through the town to Windrith's house to check in on her father.
Ooh.
But Windrith is gone to the Ives estate, and I think that this could be an Edith Ludwig scene.
Ooh.
So if it's going to be, that's totally fine. If it's going to be an Edith Ludwig scene, it's got to be before Ludwig goes out with her father, though, because Windrith has to catch them on the way back when he's with her father.
So wait, Ludwig was going to take the dad out, or I thought he was going to be like creepily feeding him porridge or something when Windrith got home.
Something like that. Either he found her dad like in a field by himself in the cold and was like, oh dear God, if I didn't get to him sooner, who knows what might have happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of thinking of it as like you riding back in with your carriage with my dad, like obviously not in great condition. Maybe he had been laying out there for who knows how long in the cold. And that's kind of when I anticipated Windrith seeing you. So if you want to be there, Edith, if you want to get there like right before he comes back, or if you want to get there before he kind of goes out with her father, that would be fine. Either or.
Yeah, I think Edith would be clueless too as to like maybe her father's getting air. Oh, this is good for him. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Edith wouldn't stop it. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like she would be like, this is a good sign. Like, oh, he's wandering in the so that could be the thing. And then like maybe that's where I meet Ludwig, and Ludwig is like, I'll take him off your hands and take care of him, kind of thing. Is that cool?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so he's wandering, you find him, Ludwig comes along.
Okay, so yeah, this scene would start with Edith approaching, and like we see the carriage, and like there's a split in the road. There's not a lot of roads in these early towns, especially from estates, which are typically relatively removed from the villagers and stuff that they lord over and whatnot. So yeah, we see the thing that would take her to the Ives estate, or take her, you know what I mean, which is probably one of the places she was going to go, given that she needs to find a person to take care of and stable Old Bay, which is where she would assume she would meet Windrith, but instead she's going to take the detour through the poorer section of the village to go to Windrith's house. And when she emerges from the carriage at Windrith's family's little cottage in disrepair and whatnot, we see Edith, like we said last time, she opens the door, and when the door opens, it kicks open that little thing and it drops down the little... So like this muddy road that is not at all packed down and sees a lot of travel from carriages, maybe horses regularly, right? We just kick this thing down, and the driver like comes out and he looks and he's like, that's gonna make a fucking mess. And Edith just casually drops down and has no idea how to approach a commoner's house. It just stands outside for a moment.
It clears your throat. Hello.
Does anybody attend to those making calls?
Where is the doorman?
Yes, exactly. I should have been noticed at this point, and I think what she does is she takes the liberty of just walking around the house. Like, she's not going to enter. She's like, I probably don't want to go in there. It's going to ruin my perceptions of... I'm just going... And she like takes a walk around the perimeter, and I think that's probably when she sees Windrith's father just like struggling and walking out in like a field. Is that what we were saying, right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Is that... Troy, did you have a different...
I had anticipated that Ludwig would have like taken him from the home and like intentionally dropped him off somewhere, like by himself.
Oh yeah. Shit!
So like Ludwig facilitated this. Like there's no they found him in a field. It's like Ludwig literally took their father.
No, but Ludwig wants to be like, oh, I found your dad. Look how great I am. But he just also made sure the dad got lost.
Maybe Edith, maybe you get there just as Ludwig is loading the dad into the carriage and leaving. So maybe you see them leave together.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
That way when this unfolds later on in the day when I get back, you're like, you didn't find him in a field. I saw you leave with him earlier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we're gonna rewind.
Cool.
We're gonna rewind the Edith scene real quick to I see another carriage leaving with her father in it, and in that case, the only interaction I will have here at the Ellingsworth cottage is that of your younger brothers running around again.
Connor's plowing the fields right now. The oldest, Connor, he's 17. He's plowing the fields. And then the younger brothers are all helping as well.
I was going to say, what's the littlest brother's name?
Philip.
So Philip is absolutely the one that notices Edith because he's a small child and his eyes are everywhere at once. And he just like sees her, and he stops, and he like looks at his brothers and like looks at the work he should be doing. And then just like trots his little pudgy way over to Edith and just goes, You a princess?
How old is Philip?
Like 4?
Oh, 5. That's great. Okay. She looks and says, "Not quite, dear, but honestly, I'm better looking than the princess.
Yeah, that's fair. What's your name?
I'm Edith. Is your sister around, Windrith?"
Oh no, she left early this morning. I think she was going to work or something. I wasn't awake. I don't know.
Work. Does she working on someone's horses? Is that what she got a call recently, or?
Yeah, usually. Did Connor, where's Wendy? And Connor at this point just like turns and just like does a double take. And
I do a minor curtsy, so like probably he's like
the 17-year-old boy just panic for a second and just walks over, just like carefully bows slightly because he's not sure.
He's all sweaty with rippling muscles.
He's like, Your Majesty.
Miss Harcourt, is it?
Yes, I was looking for your sister. I recently came into a horse and I need a caretaker for it.
Oh, yeah, she should be back not too long. She went to the Ives estate this morning, working on some of the horses with Lady Catherine. Oh, no, you don't. Do we... No, I'll say it. Amber and Chad just typed came into a horse. Lol.
No, not Edith. No, ma'am. That's Martha's game.
I'm acknowledging it.
Okay. Anyway,
We're
breezing
not
past
live,
that.
so the audience can't acknowledge the jokes for us.
Yeah. So at that point, though, yeah, she does look at Connor and she says, "Thank you very much." And she smirks and she reaches into like her purse and pulls out and she just goes like, "I don't." Well, and then she just flicks a coin to like each of them, and like actually she very daintily hands each of them a coin, and she says like, "Thank you very much for your help."
Oh, you're welcome, ma'am. And he kind of like does a little half bow, and then Philip looks at him, and then looks at you, and then does a little deep bow.
Yeah, very deep bow from Philip, and she smirks and she just goes like, "You keep up that charm, young man. You might land yourself the princess."
And Philip just nods and goes, "You got it, ma'am."
Eats mud pie.
Yeah, he's covered in dirt. Brady, you're muted.
Yeah, and she just smirks and gets back in the carriage and heads for the Ives estate, I guess.
Edith's like, we have food, and the kid's like, this tastes better.
I made it myself.
Oh, I brought eggs and cheese. We filled up on mud pies.
Damn it, boys! I told you to stop spoiling your breakfast.
Oh.
Breakfast first and dessert.
Playing all of Windrith's brothers is my favorite NPC.
I love it.
It's great.
So I believe there was a request for a quick Remington.
Yeah, so do you want to do that quickly,
Remington
and then
and Joffrey?
that'll give Windrith time to meet Ludwig with the dad afterwards. So okay, yeah. So all right, Remington and Joffrey, and I think we could pick this up right in the middle of it with Joffrey just telling Lord Remington that the financial situation is not good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Remington, listen, I have been working for your family for a very long time.
Indeed.
In fact, I consider Edith something of a daughter. I know that
That
your
means a
work
lot to
brings
me,
you
Joffrey.
I know that your work brings you to places all over the world. And I know that traveling is what you yearn for in your heart. And a fool a man would be to deprive themselves of their heart's desire. And I admire you for that. But as part of my role here for your family, I need to be frank with you. Financially, we are not doing okay, Remington.
How bad is it?
Well, I've double checked and triple checked and then checked again our numbers. And if we don't make a substantial move now, we will lose most everything.
How is this possible, Joffrey? Our investments. I was invested in the tulips. What, did the tulips not do well?
I'm afraid that the majority of our investments have not done well at all. The traveling has also been very expensive. As you know, the exchange rates, the exchange rates have been abysmal, and there is no way that you or I could have anticipated that. Additionally, with you gone here, it's been a lot to try to manage. There have been many inquiries that, due to timing and inability, I have not been able to respond to. So,
Right.
Yes, I'm sorry, Remington. But you are here now, and I have a good feeling.
How much do we need?
Well, go ahead, Rainey.
I'd like to spend my last resolve token for Remington to like press Joffrey and be like, maybe I should have left someone else in my finances. And like,
I'm actually going to refuse that.
okay,
Because
right.
Joffrey is
Rejected.
this is good. We're good. We're copacetic here.
No, he's done. I mean, he's done a great job. But I thought,
I also want to spend a resolve token to just put in the suggestion that, marrying
Yes.
Edith to Barney
Yes.
is a great idea.
Mhm.
So there are
Got
there are
tons
there you
three
of
go.
things.
money.
Jess,
Yes.
you're
Perfect.
the worst, Jess.
He looks at you, Remington, and he says, I have come up with 3 viable options as how we can recover some of the losses and regain some stability. Firstly, this wager that you are having with the Ives, yes?
Mm-hmm.
I understand that Edith is a woman now, and she has come to age, and she can make her own decisions. But the family name is obviously something of great importance, and being as beautiful and eligible as she is, there are suitors that would offer a substantial benefit to the family, whether in wealth or name or title. Dowry. We
Nope, that's the other way around.
Yeah,
No,
it is.
not
We'd
dowry.
actually have to pay the dowry. That's
Yeah, that
worse.
goes with Edith.
He says perhaps it's not necessarily a wise investment initially, but I think long-term gain from something like this is very worth considering. We are not completely spent, and we could afford a dowry, a very reasonable dowry at the moment. I understand you have a wager with the Ives family as well.
I do, yes.
Perhaps we could talk to Paul. I've been doing some digging, and it turns out that he may actually have, he may be an investment opportunity if he's not a worthy suitor. This Johnston brothers, this Lefroy, they are in uncharted territory here in England, and we could be the very first to capitalize on this. And let me tell you something. This could be a massive boon to the Harcourt estate. A look at Martha, for example. She owns the cidery and the winery, and she is loaded.
Martha. Well,
And he says, the third proposition I have is perhaps if we can leverage the Ives boy, not as a suitor, but as a business investment. There was the Barnard fellow, Bonnie.
yes, Gillingsworth, right?
Gillingsworth,
He's the one who
Gillingham.
saying I should.
Flashback him and Martha fucking in the cider vat.
He goes, yes, the Bonnie fellow. He's an interesting fellow. I don't know what Edith thinks of him, but his family does
He
come from
seems
wealth.
quite taken with Edith, though.
I don't know if I agree with you, sir, but
At least
perhaps
taken
we
with
can
the
talk to
family.
Edith. What's that?
Now, at least taken with the family.
Yes. Well, I would plan to meet with him, I'm sure, in a formal setting. a formal
Okay.
introduction, perhaps.
We need to make some moves here, Joffrey. So this is what I'm thinking. First of all, I would never force my daughter to enter into any sort of arranged marriage that would be to her detriment.
I would.
You've known the
never have
family
assumed
long enough.
otherwise.
You know that was done to me, and that although things worked out and it brought me Edith, it was not that great. So I would never do the same thing to her.
And you are a more respectable man because of it.
Some people think so, but I appreciate that you're one of them. This Gillingsworth, though, reminds me of that Mountie. So here's the thing. I want you to talk to Paul, the Ives boy, about this liquor. Because you're right, it's damn good liquor, so we can make some money there. Especially if we back him with the investments, because we don't necessarily I don't want my name tied up in investing in something as base as liquor. But if he's doing it, and we're a partner, we can make some money.
That is an excellent idea.
And with this Gillingsworth, you've given me an idea, because I have this bet with Catherine that I made really just as a lark, because honestly, I don't care if she takes my horse out for stud. But there will be side bets on this race. And Gillingham is rich, isn't he?
He does come from old wealth, yes.
This is like a triple.
So
mix.
we're going to throw the race, Joffrey.
Oh my God, this is going to line up with Paul so good.
You suggest that we lose intentionally.
Absolutely. As long as nobody knows, who cares?
Remington, may I pose this one obstacle?
Oh, you're going to get a moral on me now.
The Ives family, no, nothing of morality, just of logic. The Ives family is well known here in England, and their horses are well known as well. They are of formidable stock.
Yep.
This bay that you have is no doubt exceptional in quality and caliber, but it's unknown. Do you really think we could garner such wages against the Ives with this foreign horse?
Good point. We need to spread a rumor about the horse to make it sound better than it is.
Rumor about the horse, yes.
It has nitro in its hooves. What do you suggest, Remington? I'm all ears.
Just the idea guy. You're the solicitor. You're supposed to do the details here.
Ah, yes. Do you have a rider?
I do not. Edith is working on that.
Yeah, that was what Edith said she was going to work on. And I would also like to, while they're on the conversation of options for Edith, I know this is primarily financial. I'm just pitching my resolve tokens because I don't know how much longer we're going to play. I'm going to pitch it that Joffrey brings up Windrith's letter.
Okay, yeah, I think we should accept that for sure.
Okay.
You don't have to bring it up, but I just think that
I'll be subtle about it. I'll be subtle about it.
Yeah, because obviously that's going to be a source of
you could
big
also try to win the race, even by sabotage, so like that we don't get stud rights. Then you could try to sell us the stud rights for a shit ton of money.
So here's all right. Listen, I'm thinking out loud here.
I mean, or you could purposely lose and just have the
race.
bets.
I was thinking of just losing the race because that's the easiest thing, right?
That's what's lining up with Paul's plan too. And Edith, without Windrith, is going to have to go to Paul. It's like
So what if this though? You raise a good point. Everybody's going to bet that the Ives will win, right? So what if we cheat so we win?
It's like what, 10-1 odds, right?
Right.
This is
Catch my horse.
This is more what I was thinking. I don't know if Catherine will be racing. I know she is quite the rider. Perhaps
I doubt she would. I can talk to her. I doubt that she would ride in something a race on her own, but I could certainly ask. Matter of fact, I'm going somewhere. I could stop and see her on the way.
Very well. Well, I think fixing the race is the right bet. Whichever direction we fix it in is yet to be determined, but we do need to be on the same page with that.
This is tying itself into like a Gordian knot of
It's perfect. It's so perfect.
Speaking
Everybody's gonna be like, wait, are we winning or are we losing?
What am I supposed to do? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm running this game and I'm confused.
He goes, how about this, Remington? I actually have a meeting at the Ives estate here shortly with Paul. Would you like to join me? We can talk maybe more in-depth conditions.
I think I
Or
will bow
terms.
out and trust your judgment because I'm going to see an old friend.
Very well. The day is wasting and it's already afternoon.
Yes, you get that.
I will-
We will reconvene over another bottle of that wonderful Lafroig.
Yes, Lefroig. It comes
Whatever.
from the throat. He
What's
says,
up,
very
Lefroig?
well. I'll be on my way, Remington. It's good to see you. And I'm sorry about the finances, but like everything else,
He stands
you
up
always
and
find a way.
he just gives you like the big clasp, like not a hug, but just like the clasp on the shoulders, like yes, like that sort of like big firm English clasp.
And
We will get through this,
I
Joffrey.
Sorry, go ahead.
was gonna say I don't know how many resolve tokens I've spent, but
You have 3.
You have
I've been
Just as
moving
Xavier.
them around as I've been doing
Yeah.
it. Just that's the easiest way.
well, because
in-
I don't know if I've actually spent any yet or
Oh.
not, or if they've been accepted or not yet.
in regards to your letter, Amber, unless you want to do something specifically with Joffrey, Jess, what I had in mind was as he leaves and exits the door, the letter flies out of his pocket and onto the floor.
This is Windrith's letter?
Noticeably. Yes.
Okay, that's my resolve token. I'll get rid of that.
Yeah.
And give
Is
it
that
to-
okay? Is that okay if that's how he does it?
And then Lord Remington finds it. Is that the?
Yeah, as long as Remington picks it up, then
Yeah.
that satisfies.
I would spend my own resolve token to make that happen. Actually,
Yeah, no, I mean it's in a way that it doesn't look intentional, but it's also
Right.
not like subtle. Like
No,
see-
that's
you took
totally
it.
fine with me. So I will give my resolve token. So do I give that to
You give it to Joffrey.
Joffrey?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Joffrey has none, so give Joffrey one.
All minor characters start with 2, so he should have 3 probably.
No,
Yeah,
he
but he
used
spent
both
some.
of them.
Yeah.
He's used them
of
both. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
So I was just trying to think if I should spend a resolve token for Xavier to overhear this conversation of
Hmm.
them fixing the race.
Fuck yes.
But who would he tell?
Martha,
Martha!
to make more money.
Fucking
they
Martha,
can get
bro.
away.
That's who he would tell.
Or-
he would,
Or
he would beat
or
Remington's
he would
ass
just
to
tell-
Martha.
or
he
he
would
would
just
tell
use that
Catherine
info.
He would tell Catherine Ives maybe because she's a friend of his, an old friend of his, or he might tell Edith because this is actually a little related to Edith too.
Because it involves her potential suitors or her future.
Mm.
But also Xavier could himself just profit off of this like crazy if he gets the
Yeah,
bet
listen,
right.
that's
Motive,
even better.
right? What's
If
the
Xavier, if
That's
Xavier
true. He
bets
could
the right
bet
way,
some money.
yes, that's even better.
That'd be a
That's
good
way
station.
better.
All right.
Yep.
I like it. I'll do that.
Yo,
Need
and
a
if Xavier
fucking
drops a
chart.
boatload of dough on this race, that kind of
And then-
perpetuates
And
that
then we
rumor a
decide to
little
bet
bit.
the other way.
Xavier
I'll do
he
that.
doesn't have a
Yeah.
boatload of dough. Xavier is a governor.
He's gonna have to borrow it from
Martha.
I'm gonna
That's
ask
cool.
Martha. Yeah.
That's what I
Oh,
was getting
shit.
at was he would have to get
Yeah.
Martha in on the bet.
I like it.
Nice.
Yeah.
What a disaster.
I like that. Okay. I don't know who my resolve token would go to.
And then
though.
Martha's gonna realize all this shit's going on with Remy, and she's gonna have to have a chat with Remy.
Remy.
So
Remy.
I would say it would probably
Remy.
go to Remington only because that's the main
Oh
character
man, I
of
am
this
rich.
conversation.
I might not have money, but I have resolve tokens. Bitches.
Yeah.
All right.
I have
Fair.
0
What do you
resolve
think?
tokens.
I
but
have
I'm
4.
giving them out like candy.
I'm just gonna start dropping them bombs later on.
But,
Right.
sorry, what's going on?
So okay, so I'm gonna spend a resolve token to overhear this conversation as Xavier. I just don't know who my resolve token would go to.
We'll go
Remington?
to Remington, I think, because it's his plan.
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, I
do
would
have
say
Or
it would go to-
Joffrey.
Okay.
Remington
I think
calls the
Remington-
shots.
Remington made the plan, and it
Okay.
because it's tied in with Martha and like who's literally the person he's going to see soon. Yeah, I think
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
you're fucking up Remington's plans, or you have the power to. So
Okay. I will do that.
Do you want to do a quick aside with Sarah, Christian, as Ludwig? You've picked up my dad. Do you have final
Sure.
words before you do something asshole-ish?
yes. So your dad can't talk, right?
Nope, he is nonverbal. So you had to physically help
Perfect.
him into the carriage.
Oh God.
The wife was there, so you had to have come up with something reasonable for you to need to be with him.
would he still have to sign papers? I don't know if they have like power of attorney sorts of things.
Windrith probably signs the paperwork and stuff for them, but he could sign a paper.
I don't think
he can still hear you.
could sign paperwork.
No, she would probably sign under her father's name.
I mean, it depends on how, legal we want to be.
It might be
historically
Connor.
accurate. Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe
Yeah, no,
not
that's fair.
taking him to a doctor.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes,
That works.
actually, yes. So he intercepted this letter from Barney.
And then the Ives doctor shows up and goes, "Where's this
perfect.
guy?"
So he
Which NPCs am I playing?
because
right
I'm
now?
trying to think of what would Ludwig get from taking the dad? It's a ruse, right? So he's taking the dad to look good, to be like, oh, I
Yeah,
found
he's
the
taking that
dad.
to endanger the dad so we can save the dad.
Look what a nice guy I am. So
Yeah, but then
He's
he'd be
camp-
like a total piece of shit to the dad. He'd be like, "Hey, motherfucker."
yeah, that's totally what I'm
gonna
going to
leave
do.
you
Yeah,
here
But
to die.
how do I?
He can't
but I
let
can't-
Ludwig's mom know then that he took him.
No, I don't
No
think
one
the
can
mom
know.
can be there.
We're
I don't think the
No one
mom
can
can
know.
be there at all.
Okay.
So here's what
That's fine.
I'm picturing. Let me take the wheel here. So the carriage comes up, and let's say that the mom Ludwig gets out, and he looks around.
Mom's
He walks
working in the field with the kids.
with the kids.
Oh, he could
Right?
pretend. He could stage like a kidnapping, and then he could like Ludwig is so
Yeah,
full of himself, like
exactly.
he
Oh
fought
my
the kidnappers.
Yeah, exactly. So
This
he's
guy-
not going to quite
Like,
go
the
that
dad
far.
actually
but-
gets hurt in like the fake mugging or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Like,
so-
actually
so-
gets hurt, like, gets
So
punched
he
in his head or something.
he goes around. He walks around the outside of the thing. He sees nobody's around, and he was really coming to bother Windrith about rent. But he goes inside because he doesn't care. He's not as nice as Edith. He doesn't care. And the dad's just sitting there alone.
Yeah.
What's the dad's name again?
I didn't come up with a name for him. How about Craig?
Craig. Okay.
Troy,
That's
why?
a
Greg?
Celtic name. It's a
Greg?
Celtic name.
Greg or
Craig.
Craig?
Craig. Is a
Craig.
Celtic name.
What? Yeah, why?
Why, Troy?
Why? All right,
Like, we're
fine.
both
How about
thinking that, but we're not doing it.
I wasn't. There's no correlation to.
I
All right,
literally
Jesus.
not stopped thinking about that since this. I'm like, wow, Windrith's family is our family.
Oh my God. Okay. How about
Mom is tired as shit from working dad's disabled. Why are you doing this?
How about I don't know, what's a strong like male Celtic name?
I liked Gregory. That was fun. I mean, it's not really Celtic, but
we have a Joffrey though.
Ooh,
Yeah, Greg
that's
is
Hold on,
true.
Angus.
hold on. Celtic names.
Angus.
Aiden.
Angus.
Angus.
Oh,
yeah,
Angus,
there you go.
Angus.
Angus
Okay.
Whopper.
Angus.
There we go.
Angus.
Angus Whopper. It is impossible.
Edith is bringing
Angus
home
Whopper,
the
you are
cheese.
impossible. Okay.
Bacon
so
and
he
cheese.
goes
We're
in-
going full circle.
No, listen.
So he comes in and he sees Angus, and he looks around and no one's around. And he
Angus,
goes,
when he sees you, you notice that like his hand, like he's kind of like he's like slumped a little bit. He like sits at a little bit of an awkward angle, and he sees you, and you notice that he just kind of like swallows hard, and his like jaw clenches, and he like grabs the arm of the chair.
He hates you.
Ludwig smiles this like totally shitty smile, and he says, "Angus, come with me. I think we have some things to discuss." And he just like picks him up, because I imagine he's like not physically picks him up like totally off the ground, but he's able to
Right.
like kind of drag him out into the
Yeah.
carriage. Yeah.
And it's funny because so again he's very much incapable of like taking care of himself, but like when you grab him, when you pick him up to like bring him somewhere, like his hand like grabs around your wrist and he fucking squeezes really strong. Like
And
he's
Angus-
a fucking warrior, even though you know what I mean.
Not strong enough to
Like-
take care of Tubby Ludwig anymore. So
No.
Tubby Ludwig kind of gets him out, throws him in the carriage, looks around one last time, and I picture him having again like Ludwig 2 pounds of shit in a 1 pound bag.
Fucking
His
shit.
his
He looks weaselly as he glances.
but
right.
he's like fat and weaselly at the same time, and he just kind of smooths out his vest, and he's just like, and he just gets in the carriage and he's like,
Even when
"Whocha!"
no one-
and it like rides away. And as
even
he's
when
riding,
no one is there.
even when no one is there, he's clearing the throat. As he's riding,
I'm looking
and I
at
think
that weasel right now. I want to see. What
I think he rides his own carriage. He's not wealthy enough to have like a guy, so he's nice.
That's cute though. So we need
Yeah,
to
that's
make
like
that
1,000
shitty.
times more as charismatic than Ludwig. So Ludwig,
It's like Dookie Nukem, the raccoon. That's what Ludwig is.
he's got
fucking
so
Dookie Nukem.
he's got Angus next to him in the carriage. And Angus is kind of just like struggling probably because he's going fast. So Angus is probably like struggling to even like stay upright as he's just like, I do not understand. He wasn't, what, I can't remember what fucking accent I used.
It's like a shitty Dutch accent.
I do not understand. That's what I'm going to do. Right. I do not understand your daughter, sir. All your family, all the kindness that I show you, everything, getting you out of the old world, putting up a cripple like you and your disgusting, impoverished family on my land. All the times I have looked the other way on the rent, and your daughter will just not see things my way. What is wrong with her, huh? And he just like pushes him a little bit.
Yeah, he's just there.
Can't push back.
Yep, such a dick.
Yeah, you guys continue to ride out down the road and wherever your end destination is, and he's like, you can tell just everything about him is like trying to fight, trying to move, trying to.
Mouth is like a little snarl.
Yeah.
So he rides out all the way to like a field where there's like nobody around, and he just stops the carriage very quickly. So he actually like falls
jostles him,
and I want to say like hits his head on something.
Okay.
And maybe bleeds a little bit, and then he just like sits him up again. He's like, "I'll tell you something, sir."
He's like kind of like shaking a little bit at this point.
I am not a man who is going to be denied. Do you understand? Sooner or later, one way or another, I'll have your daughter. Ludwig Mixnor always gets what he wants.
Can I, I'm going to, as the facilitator, spend a resolve token on the NPC. Because we were given a free resolve token from someone in chat.
Yes.
And I am going to use
Manatee.
it from Manatee. So
Manatee.
I am going to use it for Angus Ellingsworth to have just enough strength to spit in Ludwig's face when he says that.
Nice.
Oh, I love it. Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Oh, yeah. And it's Angus Earlham.
Angus Earlham. Right. So, yeah, you just talk a big tui right in his face.
Right in the middle
and
of his eyes.
And he's just like, and he takes out a handkerchief, like wipes it off, and just whack, backhand. Your place, cripple. And then he just turns the carriage and he's bringing it back. And when you get back, Windrith is arriving on the horse.
About how he found him. He must have hit his head on something wandering.
And so he gets back.
This guy's gonna die.
And this was my goal by playing him, by the way. Yeah.
Before we go back to this scene, are there other scenes that we wanted to resolve? Because I kind of wanted this to happen in the evening, right before I head back to the Ives.
Edith still has to meet with. Edith is still going to the Ives.
Okay. Yeah, let's take care of that first.
And Remington wants to visit Martha. And
we might need another session, Sarah.
I think we do.
We're definitely
I
going to
so.
Okay.
And Barney has not done anything. And Remington, once he decides how to bet, has to sucker Barney into putting up a bunch of money.
I wrote this in one of our podcast episodes for this, like in the description. I 100% understand Sarah's gushing about this system now because
totally.
Just the way that the game is structured in these acts and like all of the little things in the middle, it is so good at like weaving such drama and like
it works so well.
I feel like we're having a field day.
This is
crazy.
Such a
you
great
look
game.
at it and you're like, how is it going to work? And then you do it and it's like, wow.
Yep.
It's
you
incredible.
also go in with your own preconceived ideas of like, okay, I'm gonna do this or do that or whatever with the character, and then other people are like, oh no, well I'm gonna use a resolve token to do that, and you're like, that's so fucking great, I'm just gonna go with that. It's like DMing, but and just when you DM, you just go with what the characters do. Sometimes they come up with such a better idea, and this is awesome. I just love this game so much.
Okay.
I'm also going to take a brief moment to point out to those of you that didn't see it in chat, I added a new tab to our spreadsheet called the fucking bet. So that way I can track what happens for everyone.
We're trying to make sense of it ourselves.
Yeah. So
listen, that's what role playing is all about.
Thank you, Christian. I see you got on the screen now. So
Yeah.
I just have a little chart of every major and minor character's name, and just to see, what happens if Catherine and Remington wins and loses, so that I can keep track of this.
Not even sure what's going on, to be honest with you.
So what I'm thinking is we'll finish the visitations today, and then our next session will be the horse race finale.
Nice.
So
I like it.
Love it.
So, what scenes do we have left for the visitation? We have Edith at the Ives.
Yep.
We have the Joffrey, Paul, Windrith.
Mhm.
At the Ives, but Windrith won't be there. Yep.
Okay, right.
Yep.
She
And
was
then-
supposed to be there, but she won't
We
be
miss
there.
each other all the time.
So we have Joffrey, Paul. Is that right? And
Martha
then
and Xavier. Xavier is gonna talk
Yep.
to Martha about the shiz going down.
I'm gonna write
And
this
then
in.
I
our
would like to
chat,
do a
but
quick
let's-
Martha
Yeah.
and Remington, but that's
I feel
I think-
like
I think that should come
Xavier
after
Martha
Xavier and
conversation is
Martha.
for Martha to seek out Remington.
okay. That's fine.
which one of you put that in for Barney? Just was that you?
No, not
Radio.
me. No, not
For
me.
Barney, it just says sucker
No,
no
that was
matter
that was
what.
100% me. Sucker, no matter what. Fuck that guy.
Barney Billing.
Mm.
Just has feelings.
So
I do. I don't know when, but I do.
So I'm starting to write in our little Zoom chat here
Yep, I see
the
that.
scenes
That's
that we
good.
have to do. They don't have to be in order, but everybody can just put in their scenes that they want to do there. The only two that I think I'm going to be involved in are the Edith Paul Joffrey, and I think that those two following one another would be really fun right now.
Yeah,
because-
and Windrith
Yes.
and Ludwig. Yeah, we
Yeah.
absolutely have to have that one.
yeah,
Yeah,
because,
that's fine. And then we'll
um,
leave Remington for the next time. That's fine. He's done enough anyway.
Well, I mean, we started late, so we can see whatever we're at.
Yeah, we're doing
Whatever.
good on time right now, guys. We've
Yeah.
only been recording for like an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah, so
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's see what's up.
We did leave where Windrith was assigned to ride Maid of the Lake, right?
Yep.
And then Paul got the cold shoulder from her, learning about the bet that Catherine and Remington have. Edith stopped at Windrith's house and then moved on to the Ives. So if we don't mind doing that scene now, where
Mhm.
Edith eventually arrives at the Ives estate, that'd be a
And
good
then
one.
you have a scene with yourself.
Well, I actually messaged Sarah about this. She's
Yep.
gonna play Paul.
Hey, Paul.
I'm Paul
Okay.
Nice.
now.
Yeah.
I'm
Hi,
the dapper
Paul.
little lad.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Edith's carriage pulls up to the Ives estate, and for once, things work as good society should. She the door is opened by her driver, and it rolls out the little thing. She steps onto very finely crushed stone and the wraparound driveway of the Ives estate, right? Like I imagine like it's, this fine, that's how I forget
Grand
this.
manner.
Yeah, grand manner. You said there were like hills surrounding, but the estate itself would have one of those. They'd have one of those things too, where like this. Have you guys ever seen these? The steps on the side of a building that people walk up so they can mount their horse.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that, like all of the. But so Edith steps out, and of course is immediately received by people who know better. And unlike Windrith's cottage, but she doesn't hold that against Windrith because there's a charm about her rustic do-it-yourselfism.
Mud eating fucking
Of
brothers.
those
Yeah.
poor earthy folk.
I probably just gave them
You are what you eat.
when I handed them each a coin, I probably gave you like a month's wages to like a 5-year-old. But anyway,
Yeah, Connor
How
absolutely.
much did a banana cost? $20?
Connor absolutely told Philip to hide that shit until Ludwig isn't around.
actually, fun fact, Amber, citrus fruits and stuff like that would have been very expensive because like scurvy and things like that.
Oh,
would
yeah,
just-
no, I know
yeah.
back then. I'm making fun. There was an actress
Oh, okay.
somewhat recently who was like, who made a statement like how much could a banana possibly cost? Like $20, which is wrong on so many levels. Like A, she doesn't know the
That's
price
so
of a banana.
funny.
B, she thinks $20 is nothing.
Yeah.
And C, she thinks that's what a banana costs.
That's gold. So anyway, yes, Edith. I guess Edith would be received, and she would not immediately. She would know that the stables are like the place to be in the Ives estate, but the rules of good society are that I shall be received by someone of the house.
Yes.
So I will leave that up to either Amber or Sarah to say if that is Paul or Catherine, or someone else. If you have someone else.
You're likely received by the doorman, where they bring you in.
Right.
And then is Catherine there or is Catherine out, Amber?
Oh.
She's there. She's there. She's in the stables. She has made a good brush down, little bit of a just a warm up. She's put her back to field for now. And she is in the stables right now, just kind of walking up and down the main hall, looking at the horses. And she stops at an empty stall, and kind of walks up to it for a moment, looks inside, and then runs her fingers over a somewhat fresh bit of damage in the edge of the door. It looks like a heavy metal tool or something had hit it. And she looks the way the straw is scattered about the bottom of the stable. The floor is very dark, but it's almost like she's contemplating something. She's a little lost in thought there, just touching that torn up edge of the wood.
So the doorman would ask, are you here for the lady or the lord of the house?
I was here. I heard that one of your stable hands, a young woman with red hair, Windrith, came by here. I was wondering if I could procure her attention on a horse I recently came into ownership of. However, given the lady of the house is well known for her... And then you see Edith pause, and she says, I would like to see Paul, please.
Of course, madam. And he gestures for you to follow, and he leads you into one of the drawing rooms or whatever.
Sure. They bring a drink, a refreshment or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, there's already a maid in there with drinks, and because you can't leave a lady unsupervised with a dude. She's there the whole time. And so the doorman goes, and after a moment, Paul kind of comes through a bit surprised, and just gives a light, the whatever the gentlemanly bow is at the time. Just Miss Harcourt.
Gentlemanly bow.
Yeah, Miss Harcourt, a pleasure. I was not expecting a visit.
Yes, nor was I expecting to call upon you, Paul. But I believe we both know that things are interesting in town these days, and I was wondering if I could speak to you about something that I would wish your sister kept. You keep from your sister.
Oh,
Ooh.
And he sits down in one of the chairs. Just, I understand the importance of discretion under certain matters.
So, my father, I recall you speaking with him and Joffrey and young Sir Gillingham last night at the circus, and I understand that you are working to get into business with the men of society. However, I have an interesting proposal for you. Your family is known for their horsemanship. I recently came into ownership of a horse that is going to be racing tomorrow, and I need a rider.
He's like, well, I've fallen off quite a few horses, almost everyone in the stable.
I mean,
yeah, is Paul a good horse rider? I don't even know.
He's okay.
He's fine.
He's okay.
Which is perfect for everyone's interest here.
I mean, my sister's quite an excellent rider, although I believe she's planning to enter a horse as well. I can see if any of our other riders might be able to assist.
Is this a conflict of interest, Paul?
Yes.
Oh no. I'm so sorry. You were asking me. Oh, I'm so sorry. I would be happy to help.
I wouldn't trust someone who doesn't know their way around a horse. I know, again, your sister is well known for your father was well known for his understanding. I assume this extends to you.
Of course. I grew up around them. I certainly know my way around them. I've ridden most of my life.
Well, I was tasked by my father for finding a rider, and I would just like to ask you if you'd take the reins in this race. I understand this would be something where you would be competing against your sister's horse, so perhaps I should look elsewhere. Forgive me, I'm unschooled in these matters.
No. Rainy, how much does Paul know about the bet? Does Paul know? Or actually, I'll ask Rainy and Amber. Does Paul know what the wagers are?
So
I don't think he knows anything.
Paul doesn't know shit about fuck.
Paul doesn't know shit about Catherine.
I know Paul wanted to
Edith
fix the
doesn't know
race
shit about-
too.
Whiskey, alcohol.
Yeah.
That comes from plants. That
Wait,
go bad.
but Paul wanted to fix
Alcohol.
the race, and I don't remember how Paul was fixing the race.
Paul was fixing the race with the circus. He wasn't
But-
working with.
With the circus,
But-
that's right.
But Paul was talking to the man at the circus about Remington's horse.
Mm.
Right.
So
He's on the
No, he
true
wants
path
it.
of the
yeah,
Canadian
so
game.
Paul doesn't know anything about Catherine and Remington's bet. Paul doesn't know anything about so I think all Paul wants to do right now is Paul had a conversation with the Carney folk about finding a way to fix the race. And he tried to convince them to pull the producers a la Mel Brooks, where you can make a lot more money with a flop than you can with a hit.
Yeah, you can.
So by
Oh my
setting-
God. We're both going to fix our own horses to lose, and it's going to end up with us both walking our horses, looking at each other like, you go. No, you go.
so the premise was that you set up a heavy favorite, which would be the Bay in this case, and then as long as you bet against
Or
the
the Ives
favorite,
horse.
as long as you bet
At
against
this
the
point,
favorite,
Paul
you
didn't
win.
know there was going to be an Ives horse in the race.
This is true. Paul had no
That's
idea.
right.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
So this is his first time hearing. Okay.
yeah.
So he just kind of no, I would be glad to assist. I would happily do so for you and your family.
I believe families such as ours should remain open to these partnerships, and does not even understand what the implications of that statement are when she says it.
Paul thinks she's flirting with him.
Paul, and Edith is mostly just saying like, we can,
Business partners.
yeah, we can play the game. You know what I mean? Because that's what Edith has fun with.
Yeah.
is, you know.
No.
Stop.
No.
Paul nods. Of course.
Implications.
Imagine if we just play an entire role-playing session just ASMR.
I'm gonna write an
This
RPG
so
where it's all ASMR.
That
now.
would be
I just
impossible
learned
for
what
this
that
group.
was today, by the way, folks. ASMR. I had no idea.
Congrats.
It's
Yeah.
it's
Well,
mostly
I don't know if that's fine.
it's mostly just about the sound of the dice clacking.
Oh.
Dice are way too loud for ASMR, man.
Not if you roll them in the right thing, I guess. I don't. You're right.
It's
You're right.
fair. Actually, no, it's fair if you roll them in the right thing.
Get yourself a leather bag. Anyway. Anyway.
No, I understand the importance of families working together.
Yeah. I didn't realize when I pitched this scene how everything was going to be misconstrued, and I love it. So Edith just smirks and says, "You're welcome to come meet my horse. Currently stabled at Harcourt Manor."
Of course. Shall I head over? Shall I return with you now, or is later a better time for you?
And you see Edith's. You can call upon us. Now again, this race is tonight.
Yes.
She says, "I don't think it'd be proper to join me in my carriage."
No. Of course. I meant ours would follow behind yours.
Yes.
So good society. So good society.
You may call upon us
At least
whenever.
50 yards.
Yes. Leave room for Jesus.
Jesus is really big.
yards of room.
Jesus, the 12 apostles.
Yeah.
50 yards of Jesus.
50. Please respect the 50 meters of Jesus.
I love it.
Sarah's dying. Oh no.
10 years of Catholic school. This feels really real.
Oh wow. I didn't realize you did Catholic school too.
Oh, how many
I know.
Catholic
Two.
school
How
kids
many do we have here?
I guess
I'm,
two.
no- I'm not even Catholic.
14 years, and it ruined it for me.
Yeah, 8 years is all it
Wait,
took me.
Christian also was Catholic school. Wow. 3
He was
years.
the original.
can't
Catholic.
tell.
Everyone you know went to Catholic.
Catholic school, really?
He was the original Catholic school.
Yeah, that's right. It was really bad when I went because it was like the Romans were still trying to oppress it.
Roman Catholic.
How
Like
bad,
Jesus still preached in the school.
Yeah, that's right.
Christian? How bad did the nuns beat you up, man? How bad?
Oh God, it was. They actually used the
Oh,
cat
my
of
God.
nine tails back then. Yeah.
The cat of nine tails. Oh, I love it.
Speaking of, hi, Burger.
Hey, Burger.
Oh, she lifted
Kitty.
her head up at the
I
second.
know.
Yeah.
She did. She looked in the camera.
Cat loves me.
She
Yeah.
really does.
Hey, yo, baby, Swiss.
A star is born.
God, I love this cat.
Sarah, you sent a video when you went to go visit her, and I was like, it took me 3 months to get belly rubs. What is this? One day.
I had met her once before that video. Once. So happy. So Paul, oh no, we were right behind yours, obviously. But if later is a better time for you and your family and the folks at your stables, I'd be happy to come later.
Whenever is fine. I'm heading back there now to speak with my father about the time we have lost.
Oh, of course, I understand.
Good day, and again, attempt to practice discretion as far as your sister is concerned.
Oh, of course. She's been quite busy herself with other matters today, so should be quite simple.
Yeah, Edith takes her leave. And again, as the other person playing Paul, I do think that Paul's eyes when she leaves the room are probably just like, oh, the possibilities.
Little panicked boy.
Yeah, he is so in over his head, it's not even funny.
All right. So
Should we have Joffrey meet with Paul before he leaves to head to the estate, or do we want Joffrey to meet with Paul when he gets to the estate?
I would assume when he gets to the estate would make the most sense. Joffrey probably answers the fucking door.
True, but Joffrey was leaving to go there, so maybe they intercept each other on the road.
Yeah, it was actually understood that they were supposed to meet. Like Paul knew he was meeting Joffrey
True.
at the state. So
Yeah. Okay, let's do that then. And then you can head to the fucking Remington estate.
Yeah.
So shortly after Edith leaves, Joffrey arrives. I'm going to say, is it strange if I say Joffrey just rides a horse versus a carriage?
I don't know.
I don't think Joffrey would. Well, he might have access to the carriages, I guess. But yeah,
He definitely does, bro. He's the fucking head of the house.
Yeah.
Remington might be the father, but Joffrey is the daddy. Let's be honest.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, he pays me.
Wow.
Are you saying Joffrey's your sugar daddy?
Yeah,
He is Xavier's sugar daddy. That's
Xavier
true.
has a sugar daddy and a sugar mommy. He's living the
Ow.
bisexual dream.
Xavier.
Xavier's just like dripping in that syrup.
Oh my God.
Mm.
And actually,
Dripping in
Edith
something.
Edith
All right.
buys him clothes. He's got a sugar sister.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Edith,
Fucking
yeah.
Xavier. He's like, life is so dreary, and everybody's just
I know.
throwing
Yeah,
fucking
and Xavier's totally the type too that like when anybody asks him how he's doing, he's like, I wrote this new poem today, and everyone's like, oh, he's living such a hard life. That's Xavier.
so depressed.
Starving artist.
Cool. Joffrey arrives at the Ives estate, is greeted by, whoever. And he seeks out Paul. And he finds Paul.
I heard all that, but I missed my chance. Xavier's just over here mainlining pixie sticks. Okay, just wanted to get that in. We're good.
Mainlining pixie sticks?
Hey, do we want Barnyard Barney Billingham to be here for this? Does anyone? I mean, I'd be cool with spending a resolve token for him to be here for part of this, honestly, because Windrith isn't here.
I think
So he's gonna be.
Jess should be able to just make that decision since it's her character.
Yeah, Jess, do you
With
want
no
Barney to be
token
here?
necessary.
I don't
So
know.
the whole premise
why
of
he
this
would be
meeting-
there. Yeah.
The whole premise of this meeting is Joffrey is meeting with Paul, and he's going to have a real talk with him about like
Business endeavors, though, right?
no,
Edith.
not business.
Edith.
He's going to talk about Edith and about Windrith's letter. Basically, he's not going to talk about Windrith's letter, but he's going to be like, "Yo, what are your intentions with Edith?" Like,
I don't
he's
know
gonna
that Barney has the pretext.
Yeah, I don't think Barney would be there. I think it's okay. I don't think Barney needs to.
Okay,
Barney's
Okay.
trying to get in there, but he's not in there yet.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
an orbiter. Yeah.
Yeah.
so Joffrey rolls up. Joffrey, I feel like I don't know how, but I feel like Joffrey is actually a really interesting and like deep three-dimensional character, but we only see the one side of him. So I don't know what else he has going on, but like he's like Alfred, right? Where Alfred was a butler, but like Alfred definitely had some other shit going on.
Alfred was an MI6.
Alfred was an MI6, and Joffrey
That would
might
be my
kinda
father.
similar.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yo, your father was MI6, licensed to kill. So Joffrey rolls up and he's like, yes, I'm looking for Paul Ives. We have a meeting scheduled. Could you retrieve him for me? I mean, either that or end with Windrith Ludwig. It doesn't matter. Time-wise, this will be a short scene, but
Rainey, you're muted.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think this one's going to be very long. But
Okay,
we can
I
figure
just
it out.
wasn't sure what we were doing.
What are we
time-wise.
at for time?
Yeah.
We're only 2 hours
2
in,
hours.
so we have
I
plenty of
feel
time.
like we're in the swing of things, so we should end with Ludwig and.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good ending.
We're already
Yeah.
into the game.
Yeah.
A couple more scenes is totally fine. All right, so now I have a question.
one of the stable people or one of the
I actually
people-
Charlie.
can I spend a resolve token to actually interrupt? I have 3 as Paul. I have none left as Edith, but I have 3 as Paul. Can I spend one as Paul to intercept Joffrey before he goes to the main door? Because now Paul is like, Catherine can't know about all the like. I have plans on plans on plans.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, he's gonna come out of the stable.
This
at the
is
worst
perfect.
moment
This is
here.
perfect.
So I'll give one of Paul's resolve tokens to Joffrey, I guess.
Okay. Now Joffrey has one.
And he intercepts him as he's like coming up the
Perfect.
up the drive.
He yells out to you. He says, Master Ives, just the person I'm looking to see.
Great. Joffrey, can we actually, if you don't mind, may I just hop in and we just do a U-turn and head back to the Harcourt manor?
He's on his horse. So he says, grab a horse and we'll head that way.
And he goes, how about I just hop on in front of you? Just in front, right? I'm just
He probably like scratches his head. He's like, I mean,
jokes, good sir, jokes. I have my own horse. Of course.
Yes.
And then-
Sorry, no Lefroy. My mind is so cloudy. It's fine.
You didn't drink and horse, did you? Are you drinking and riding?
Yes, very much. You're new to good society, Paul. You will learn.
So Paul grabs one of the Ives horses from the stables. Is Catherine still there?
Yep, Catherine is actually.
Wait, you haven't gone to
finishing-
Windrith?
Catherine is just actually finishing spreading some hay on the floor of that stall there, and she sees Paul come in and grab a horse, and because she's super overprotecting, helicoptering, protecting this sweet young lamb from the world, she's like, "Are you going somewhere? The fair is not until later this afternoon."
No, of course. I spoke with the Carney folk, and I have an interesting wager with them that I would like to follow up on. One of their, remember the horse that you were interested in from the carnival folk?
Yes.
I have in with those who manage their horses, and I'm going to attempt to find out more about that horse.
Paul, it's Lord Remington's horse.
And then you actually see Paul, and did Paul know that? I don't think Paul knew that. So Paul
All
just
of
goes.
know shit about fuck.
So Paul tries his best to feign. He's not feigning surprise. He is like, but he's trying to hide the oh shit face when he puts that together.
It's Russian stock.
Yeah, and he just looks and says,
Canadian, actually. Canadian, yeah. It's Canadian stock.
And Paul's eyes just kind of like dart around for a second, and he just goes like, "Sister, do you trust me?"
No. Like, I
Yeah, and like
I trust you to be kind
No,
and good, but I don't trust you to make worldly decisions. Paul,
he is crushed by that. He looks at you and he says, "Sister, I think I can get us this horse."
Paul, I don't need you to.
And he just looks and he says, "So, am I free to go, or?"
You're going to meet the carnival folk.
In regards to the horse, even if
How much coin do you have on your person?
and actually he doesn't have a lot, because this is not the premise of this. He goes, I was not going to make an offer on the horse. If you have plans for this, that is entirely on you. I simply intend to make the race interesting. And like
And then he
didn't-
leaves.
Joffrey,
Joffrey calls to you, Paul. Sir, we must be going.
No, when he says that, he doesn't mean it. He tries not to say it in a way that sounds like he's fixing it. He just means to be like, I'm gonna make money off this. Is like what he's trying to tell his sister, because this is what he's been telling his sister he wants to do for a while. It's like, I need to prove myself in good society with the men by
being a bookie.
no, by making good wagers, by proving that I'm like of sound judgment. Like that's how like gambling happened.
Okay.
back
You
then, you know what I
you
mean?
found some chaps who are talking about horse racing, and you're going to show them that you have a keen eye.
Exactly, sister. I don't believe these people understand even half of what they need to outsmart one of us.
Well, that they certainly don't.
These are legs.
Right now, Catherine is like, okay, Paul is trying to flex. She's gonna let him knowing that she's entering her own horse, and if he's planning to bet on the bay, he's going to lose, but it'll be a good little lesson for him on how to do his best. So she's gonna let him go.
Yeah, and that's what she thinks is happening, but he's actually it's a mess. Okay, so he gets on his horse, and like as
Paul, don't bet anything father would miss.
he says, no, trust me, sister, I've been saving and I'm playing my coins right. And
be careful.
Always, sister.
Don't purchase any curios from the carnival folk. He's like following him out, giving him tips as he's going.
And as like we get a shot of him riding, and then like we get a close up of his face, and like he's just like sweating. Just like
So you meet up with Joffrey as you're riding out, and Joffrey is riding next to you, and you guys are going at a leisurely pace, right?
Yeah, I've slowed down to a trot. Yeah.
And Joffrey is he looks at you and he says, Paul, you come from a good family, from what I understand. I've had a little bit of interactions with your father, and one thing that I admire about him is that he is a man of humble origins and he works hard. And that is something to be proud of. He looks at you and he says, you're what, 16, 17 now, Paul?
17, sir. And like my father, I intend to make my own way in this society.
Yes, you oh gosh, if I could go back to being 17 again, Paul, I'll tell you, time flies by. It really does. And maybe I sound like an old man for saying that, but I want you to know something, Paul. In the endeavor of trying to make a name for yourself, don't forget who you are. That is very important. And not many people will tell you that. But I want you to remember that. And maybe someday it'll make more sense. Maybe someday it'll seem like wisdom. Perhaps it just sounds like the silly words of a bookkeeper of a noble house. But don't forget who you are, trying to make a name for yourself.
And actually, Paul looks up and says, "Sir, that is wise and sound advice. I often think of myself and have these grand plans and visions and things that I believe that if I just push myself, I can do it. But then I think, and more often than not, I see myself as my sister sees me, or I see myself as my father sees me. I see myself as chained, tethered, reined, if you will. I'm not allowed to run free, but I want to prove that I can be trusted to do so. So I take your words to heart, sir."
He says, Paul, there are indeed several versions of you, and several versions of me, and several versions of all of us. There is the you that other people see. There is the you that you would like other people to see. And then there is you for who you are. Finding out all of those things takes time, and it's okay. It should take time. It's a worthy endeavor. Lord Remington, he is wealthy. He has titles. He has land. He has a beautiful family. But do you know what makes Lord Remington special? It's that who he is and who he wants other people to perceive him as are the same person. Who other people actually see him as is of very little importance. Lord Remington has lived an incredible life, and he is not free of mistakes, but he has done what he has wanted to do, and that is very important. Not what society wanted him to do, not even what his family wanted him to do sometimes, but he followed his heart. He is a man that followed the rhythm. He followed the rhythm. What is it? The drum? Something
Beat of
like
his own
that.
drum.
Beat of his own drum.
He followed the beat of his own drum.
The rhythm of his own heart, sir.
Thank you. And I think that you would be wise to do the same. I have a question for you.
Sir?
If any, what are your intentions with Edith Harcourt?
Yeah, and like a gulp, like a audible in the scene. Hold on, let me get that. Hold on, let me get that ASMR real quick. Let me get that ASMR real quick. I don't know if that came through at all.
It did. It did.
Barely.
It was beautiful.
Barely.
It was beautiful.
Good.
Which is
It should be.
ASMR.
It should be. But
I'm so sorry, people who enjoy ASMR. We're just.
And the French.
This whole thing came up this week because I have a never mind. It's not important. So Paul,
Lashes as you were talking.
Paul, in regards to Edith, he kind of like that's not the question he was expecting at all. Because before, literally an hour ago, he never really even interacted with Edith. And he still doesn't know about Catherine's bet with Remington. So he's taken aback by this. And he says, "Sir, I have no intentions in my mind whatsoever with Edith. I was under the impression she must already have been arranged to some lord or listen, I'm not sure if you've mistaken me for someone else. I do intend to make good on my promise to Lord Remington with the Johnston brothers and the Lefroy distillery, and I do intend on racing for Edith and like that might come as a shock when like he says that, but he says I do intend on racing for Edith and doing what she's asked me
Joffrey's
to
like,
do.
we're
But
fucked.
yeah, but he kind of looks and he says like, "Sir, I'm thankful for your advice about everything and your stories about Lord Remington being allowed to make his own mistakes and become the man that he wants and everyone can see him as. Sir, if this is about a slight that I may have unintentionally leveraged against Edith, I promise you it was none of those. It was not intentional.
No
says-
slight at all, Paul.
I simply want to be a man who can make mistakes, make his own mistakes. But I don't believe I've made one. I'm sorry. And he kind of stutters out the rest.
Paul, you're fine. You have not made any mistakes. I just needed to clear the air. I needed to make sure we were all on one page. I think that our family and your family will have a lot of fine adventures together regarding this Lefroy.
Yeah, and Paul smiles and says like
Sweating profusely.
yeah, Paul smiles. He does breathe. It's funny because like in one breath he breathes a sigh of relief about not
Edith,
being, yeah,
but
not
also a sigh of like, dear God.
yeah,
but like on this thing I know nothing
the latter
about.
half,
Perfect.
the sigh
then-
extends a little too long, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh shit, though.
Yep. So here's what happens. Crack of the whip, they start riding quickly, and then boom, cutscene. Joffrey busts in the door. Oh, he tells Paul before we do the quick cutscene, he goes, Paul, I wish you the best of luck tonight in the race. Ride fast, ride hard, and ride for victory. And then boom, cutscene. Joffrey kicks in the door. Lord Remington, he's like, we're betting to lose.
So fucking Luke.
That is so good.
Perfect.
Oh, we're fucked.
So good.
You need to
All
find
right,
that
we got some Martha shit coming up next.
Oh,
right?
that was so good.
Are we good on time? Do we
Yeah,
still want to do?
100%.
Yeah, go.
Yeah,
we need
yeah,
to.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
We've got time.
We're wrapping
Okay.
this up. We got time.
Okay. This should be pretty quick. Xavier just knocks on. He probably has a secret way that he comes into Martha's manor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love
Sneaks
that.
in and it's just like, Martha, my dear. Excellent news. Great news.
She's sipping some hard cider out of a teacup.
Martha, this is it. I have found a way, my dear, my love. A way for me to. Oh, no.
You got my letter. She's like ready to be ravished.
Yes.
She just
my-
unsubtly uncrosses her leg.
Ooh.
Yes, my darling, but I'm afraid I would like to be of your stature and respectable as well. And I think I've found a way. There are rumors afoot, and I've overheard one. The Remington family, they're not doing very well.
Oh,
Their tulips have failed them.
Oh
they're,
boy.
they're what?
Their tulip investment has failed them.
I love Martha,
That means
a
the
rich
best
old
eat
woman, is
tulips.
just going, tulips? Like,
You know as well as that I that Remington is a very strange fellow, I'm sure.
He's a free spirit.
He just pauses a little at that and he's like, but I believe I found a way. They're going to throw the race. This is a chance to invest some money and make
Fucking little asshole, Xavier.
a great deal. And then we can get away from here. We can travel as much as we want. We can go to grand new places and we can be together where no one will care.
One aside. At the time you left, I think they were planning to win the race and sabotage my horse.
I don't believe they settled on what they were going to do.
That is true. We did not settle. We weren't.
Oh, I think
100% sure
no,
yet.
you're right. I think they were going to win the race. I think that was the last thing they heard. So yes, they're going to throw the race.
Wrong, right?
They're going to throw the race to win it.
That
Oh, this is awesome.
no, that's wrong.
Correct. They're going to
They're gonna do something.
They're going to do
right?
something to sabotage the race.
The last thing you heard was you were going to cheat to win the
You're going
race.
to
I
cheat.
think.
You're going to cheat
Yeah,
to win
yeah.
the race. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now they're throwing the race.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Sheet.
Yes, I believe so. And all we need.
You know how?
I did not hear that far. I just know that they are desperate. My only concern is that this might leave Edith without a proper home. And she is kind and she is strong, but she's never known a life without money.
I mean, not if they're successful and not if they don't get caught.
But who are we betting for then? Because if they're winning money, then they're taking money from us. No.
Only if I bet against their interests.
So we bet the same way as they do.
Yes, Xavier, darling, that way. Edith keeps her home. Remington can buy more tulips. And you can retire from governing, if that's what you wish.
I only wish to be with you and be worthy of you. And to be able to be presentable in society by your side.
Darling, I don't give a pigeon's shit about society and what it expects. I'm a woman of a certain age. You make me happy. If you want to do this because it's fun and you want to have your own money, then I support you, but
I want people
you
to
needn't
not
look for anything. You don't have to impress me.
I want people to not speak ill of you when we are together.
They do not speak ill of me because you are broke, darling.
If anything, they speak
know what you
ill
mean.
of Xavier. They're like, look at Xavier being poor and shit.
Xavier is a precious little boy. I like.
That is true. He is precious.
But I have no money of my own. I would borrow just a small sum, and I really believe in this, Martha. I do.
We've done well in the cider this year, of course. I have
This is it. This
every
is our
confidence
Okay.
in your investment, Canny.
Hold on.
Oh no.
So I think I can spend a monologue token on this, Xavier. So you are,
okay.
To the best of your knowledge, you currently believe that they're throwing the race to win, which means that the Ives will lose, which means that you are going to bet against a fixed race on your old friend, Catherine.
Correct.
I want you to monologue that internal conflict for me. How does Xavier feel about this? Deep down.
All right. So how that works is, Troy, you will spend your monologue token.
Yep.
And Jess, you will check off the yes box under have you monologued.
Hit me.
Hit me with that monologue.
I mean, to be honest, Xavier isn't too concerned about Catherine.
It's like,
Okay.
You know, Catherine has done well for herself. Their family has a method of making money. Xavier has worked as much as he can, but he's nowhere close to everyone else, you know, in the good society. And his focus is really on Martha. And right now he's feeling a little bit or a lot of it threatened that Remington has returned to good society for however long. And he and Martha have always talked about traveling and seeing the world. And here's Remington just coming back from actually having traveled and actually seeing the world and actually having done all of these things that Xavier has never been able to do. And so he's out to win.
Out to win at the expense of
Xavier.
the cost of his friend. Because Catherine can lose
what
money.
if she finds out?
Right. Catherine can lose money and you're okay with that. She has money to lose. But
Yes.
on principle,
But
she's losing because the race is fixed and you know it.
yes. But
Yeah, that would be the information that would have changed
Mhm.
everything.
but if Catherine finds out, he is terrified.
As he should be.
He is terrified.
He's like, I think Catherine killed her husband.
He is terrified.
It's
And
a
just
rumor.
Good job, Jess.
Hopes and prays that she never knows. I mean, he's just betting some money, you know?
Yeah. No, I get it. No, that was a great monologue, Jess. That was good.
Yeah.
Darling,
Yeah.
in order to truly capitalize on your wager, we have to find someone foolish enough to take you at it at a ridiculous price.
Of course.
Any people in mind?
Barnyard running.
Wow.
Barnyard. You do know a lot about
You're
horses,
like,
Barney. Well, yes, I do.
He is quite wealthy. He does have a lot of money. He does seem to throw himself around a lot. I would certainly like sticking it to him from the way he treats Edith.
Hell yeah.
Well,
And he's a fucking idiot.
let's do it then, partners.
Yes.
Yes.
Business partners, you and I in this endeavor. Let's take young Barney for a ride during the race.
Partners.
Fuck yeah.
Chuckle.
All right.
Shakes hands. And
That
now
is
Martha's
the
like, I have to make sure that Remington doesn't fuck this up.
Solid.
All right, and that's pretty much it, I think.
Fucking
Nice.
Nice.
Xavier's such a. We don't deserve Xavier.
Yeah, that came. Yeah, I was.
He's just a good boy.
That backbone resolve token, it just went full
Oh, yes.
permanent. That
Thanks,
was
Rainy.
great.
I was like, okay, I got it. I figured
This
it
is
out.
great.
Figured it out.
Xavier is this game's Lawrence, just the wholesome
He
little
is.
boy.
He really is.
Mhm.
I was thinking that. I was like, he's just
Respectable
like,
enough for you.
yeah.
Oh, so good, so
That
sweet.
was beautiful.
All
So
right.
we have one more scene. Is that what we're doing?
One last scene.
Yes.
So
Nude
wait,
V.
who's left? Because I thought, didn't Martha also want to talk to Remington?
That can
Oh.
go after the
We'll do that
Want to
next.
start the next one off with that?
That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
I have a question just in terms of play cycle. Do
Sure.
we get another epistolary before this or
No. So what's
Ooh.
happening is we're kind of fudging things a little bit.
We can write more letters if we want.
because I actually wrote something that I want
Oh.
to write to Edith. I mean to Windrith. but-
Right, to myself.
Hey, maybe someone can spend a resolve token to have you show up at Windrith's house and you can
Sure.
say it.
Oh, maybe I take maybe Edith on the way back drops off a letter from the Ives estate.
And that would be perfect because Catherine wants to be there too. She's going to be writing Maid of the
I'm gonna write
River.
up at the end of your scene, like with Ludwig, like at the end of it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
With the
Oh,
doctor too, right?
So wait, are we doing
With
No,
the
not with the
doctor.
doctor. I'm writing down there because I've been thinking, looking at that stable, thinking about Windrith, and I feel bad about not trusting her with my horse for the day. So I'm bringing Maid down
Gotcha.
to her.
Okay.
So
Okay.
can we? So are we doing Windrith, Ludwig, Catherine, Windrith, Edith, and then call it? Like Edith's will not be long. Or
Yeah. So when do you
That's
want to
fine.
be there? Do you want to be there before, during, or after the scene with Ludwig, Rainey?
oh man, if Edith was last, given the state of this letter, it would be the most dramatic. I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's
Sounds
what we'll
good.
do. So it's getting
Okay.
towards night, evening-ish, and Windrith is making her way
The
home.
three of us are
Yep.
gonna have to hide.
So this is what I imagine. So Windrith gets home and she's milling about the farm for a hot sec. She comes and drops off the food and she calls to Pa. She's like, Pa, we got some food from the Ives. They were nice enough to bring us some cheeses and breads and all kinds of goodies. And she's like kind of milling about. And she's like, Pa? She calls out his name again. No response. Pa? And she's like kind of walking around the house and stuff because he's not where he's supposed to be. And she's like,
Yeah. Normally you get some sort of response from your
yeah,
dad.
like
even
a
if it's
grunt or something.
Kind
Yeah.
of like knock
Tap
on the wall.
something, yeah.
Yeah. Or one of the boys says, oh, he's in here, or whatever. So Windrith goes outside and she opens up the door to go outside. And I imagine like the carnival probably starts like just after sunset, right? Because it's like, I don't know. I imagine that would be maybe,
The race is
Is that-
before sunset,
oh, the race is before
so
sunset.
people
Okay.
can see it.
So, okay. So it's not sunset yet.
It's just getting late in the day. Sky is
in
very
the day. Just like little strips of red in the sky, maybe.
yeah.
And Windrith goes outside and she sees Paul, she sees Connor in the field and she sees Mom and she goes up, hey, Connor, have you seen Dad? Is he out here? Connor's like, no, I thought he was inside. And Mom's like, no, he was inside. And she's like, he's not inside. So the family kind of rushes inside and they're looking all around the house and they can't find him. And Windrith is like freaking the fuck out right now. she's like, you can tell, like she's like on the verge of panic right now. She's like freaking out. She's like, Connor, where's Dad? Like, you were home. You were supposed to be watching him. Like, did you leave him in the field? Where is he at? And she's freaking out as this is happening, right?
Is she inside while she's doing that?
Yeah, they're like tearing apart the house, going outside, looking around and stuff like that.
As you're inside,
kids are freaking out.
As you're inside freaking out at your younger brother, you hear outside.
Windrith kind of like, it takes a second for her to register, and she clenches her jaw because she's like, she doesn't have time for this bullshit right now, right? And she walks over to the door and she opens the door kind of hastily. And so I'll say like the kids are still outside a little bit. Some of the younger boys are outside, mom's outside, maybe her and Connor were inside. And she sees you outside and she takes a step outside of the house, like towards you. And she's like, what do you want, Ludwig?
You must be more careful, Windrith. I found your dad wandering about. And you see him, like he steps aside and you see him like in the carriage behind him, like bleeding.
She looks at Ludwig for a quick second and then looks over to the carriage and sees her dad. And she just rushes towards the carriage to her dad. And she looks at her dad and she's like, Papa. She's like, what happened? And she's like,
Ludwig kind of like hovers behind her. And,
sure.
And he's just like,
she's like holding his head. Yeah. She's like holding him and she's like looking at him. And I would imagine he's kind of like shaking a little bit.
Yeah.
And like
he's clearly upset because of what happened. And Ludwig is just like, I was out riding and I found him. I saw him walking in one of the fields, and I tried to get him because I know he's not supposed to be. Now I'm going French. I know he's not supposed to be out by himself, but he fell and he hit his head on a rock.
More French.
She's hearing all of this. She's hearing all of this and she's listening to it. And as she's listening to it and hearing it, she's staring her father like directly in the fucking eyes. And
so
he is like,
I will say, you know your father better than probably anyone.
Better than anyone.
And he's looking right at you.
You better know together.
In just the smallest movement that Ludwig wouldn't notice, he looks you dead in the eye and just ever so slightly shakes his head. And that's how you know he's trying to tell you he's wrong.
Yeah. Catherine kind of turns her head, or not Catherine, I'm sorry. Windrith kind of turns her head quickly back at Ludwig and she's like, come on, Pa, let's get you back inside. And she kind of like helps him down from the carriage. And
Ludwig's like, come, let me help.
She's like, I've got it, Ludwig.
Why would you never accept my help, Windrith? Have I done anything wrong to you? When have I done anything but help your family?
Her jaw clenches.
Why do you not see that I am a nice guy?
Her jaw clenches at this moment, and I just imagine like the whole world kind of goes quiet, and you just hear her heartbeat, like boom, 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 like really, really quick heartbeat, and she kind of assists the dad kind of to the front door and Connor like kind of runs out and like helps her, and she goes, Connor, get the boys inside, and she turns around and she kind of like helps Connor get inside, and she's like, Daniel, Philip, inside the house now, with a tone of finality. And as Ludwig is kind of blubbering like an idiot, like, why don't you ever let me help you? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. He stopped that when you get him in. He's just standing there. Yeah. And as you get him in, again, you hear it one more time.
Windrith takes a step inside the house to like help her father like in with Connor, and she comes back from around the door and she has a rifle in her hands, and she holds up the rifle and she fucking points it at Ludwig.
What is this?
She says, where did you say you found my father?
He was walking in the field.
By himself.
Yes.
She looks you
Is this
in
how
the
you
eyes.
This is how you treat me?
She looks you in the eyes and she says, not likely. And she says, I want you off my land.
It is my land, you bitch.
She's like, that heartbeat is.
And I want you off of it. So if this is how it's going to be, you get your fucking family and you get off of it.
Can someone please spend a monologue token on Troy right the fuck now?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah,
Oh, great call.
I was gonna do it like 5 minutes ago, but now it's perfect.
Okay.
Who's spending? I can spend one.
All right. So
I'll spend it.
I'll spend
mine. I'll spend
Ludwig. Take my money.
All right. So here's what happens. Ready? So she is looking. She's looking down the fucking iron crosshairs on this rifle at Ludwig, who's maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 feet away from her near the carriage.
Oh shit, he doesn't have a monologue token. Never mind. Hey, go ahead.
And she gets she has another flashback, right? That boom, 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 boom of her heart. It gets a little bit like duller. Now it's just faint background noise. And what we see is we see Windrith in the stable, and it's dark out, and there's fire going around all over where the stable is. And you see another man, and he yells out to her. He says, Windrith, keep the stables. He says, if they get the horses, we're done for. He says, hold the stables, hold the line. Do not let them get to the horses. And Windrith is a little bit younger. Her hair is pulled back in a tight braid. And she looks at him and she says, aye, yes, Lieutenant. And you hear the sound of cannon fire and muskets and stuff and screaming, and you hear horses neighing, and you hear the sounds of combat in the distance, right? And everything gets a little bit quiet. And Windrith is in the back of the stable, and she's standing there with a rifle. And there are horses in the stable, and the horses are kind of, they're uncomfortable. They know that something is going on, right? Only like animals can perceive things that we can't. And she's kind of standing there, and everything goes a little bit quiet. And then she hears voices outside of the stable. And she recognizes them because they don't have the same accent that she has and that her comrades have. And she sits up. She was almost lulling off to sleep a little bit. And she grabs her rifle, and she holds her rifle towards the entrance of the door, and her hands are shaking a little bit, and the rifle is shaking. And through the door, these two men walk through the door, and they are clearly wearing a uniform that is not hers, and they have weapons with them. They have rifles of their own. And the men quickly see her towards the back. It's not very well lit. They see her, and they kind of react, and she lets off a shot, and it hits one of the men, and he falls, and he staggers off to the side. And the other man fires a shot at her, and she dives into a stable to the side. And everything is happening in like flashes, like quick scenes. And before you know it, the other man is like, he's in the stable, and they're fighting. They're fighting with, he's got his sword, and he's trying to hit her with it, or his rifle, and he's trying to hit her with it. And she, grabs a pail, and she like hits him with the pail, and then he grabs her and like smashes her into the stable, and they both fall to the ground. And the guy's like choking her, and she's like trying to hold on to like consciousness. And she just grabs, like, she just like grabs and gouges into his eye and flips the guy over. And they are just fighting like animals, like tooth and nail with everything that they have, right? And there's just a split second where, they kind of separate. They're both like getting their asses kicked right now. And Windrith grabs a horseshoe, and the guy like goes to grab his weapon and like level it at her. And right as he does that, right before he gets it on her, she grabs the horseshoe, and she like hits him in the side of the head, and he falls to the ground. And then you just see Windrith, and she's just hitting him in the head over and over again with this iron horseshoe. And kind of that flashback ends, and Windrith is sitting there, and she's sitting back on that same bucket that she was sitting on at the back of the stable. And she's got blood all over her. She's breathing heavy. She's holding her ribs. She's got her rifle in one hand. And in that dim light, you just see her face, and it's got blood all over it. And she's just standing there, and she's just breathing heavy. And she's just like, and she's looking out at the entrance to the stable, like she's going to hold the line. And it pans back to the moment with Ludwig. And she's got the rifle in her hands, and she cocks back the hammer, and she says, "I'm not going to say it again." And her hands go steady for a moment. There's no more shaking in the rifle.
Okay. Ludwig looks you in the eyes and I want to say he pisses his pants. So yeah, he does. And it's just like, look what you made me do. Fine. You will be off my land by the end of the week. And he just like waddles back to his carriage and like climbs on it and like, cha, and rides away. Probably past Catherine.
And as he's riding away, Windrith keeps the crosshairs on him as he's riding out of the lot. And the camera kind of pans in and it's like a profile of her, and it gets to the rifle and you see the tip of the rifle and it moves down the rifle a bit more and you get to her hands, and that beating of her heartbeat, it comes back very loud and it drowns out any other noise, and you see her hands and her hands are shaking.
All right.
And I would imagine this is where Catherine rolls up.
Catherine, towards the last sprint there, she can't help herself. She takes Maid for a fucking run. So she spurs her into a gallop, ducks low, gets into that perfect proper riding position, and just lets this horse fucking go hell bent for leather. And she whips right by Ludwig's carriage, doesn't really even pay it a second thought as she races up the final bends and winding turns to Windrith's farm, letting the wind whip through her hair, letting the pure like carnality of it, the horse's rasping breaths, the pounding of its heart, the heat of the animal just wash all of the thoughts that have been troubling her today away. And she has that moment where she's on there moving like the wind and she's free. She pulls the horse up, slows her down, lets her walk it off, and is about to like start turning her in a couple circles, letting her like come down slowly, and she sees Windrith with her rifle, probably not pointed at the moment, but in hand.
It's still pointed at Ludwig.
Still pointed at Ludwig. Fuck.
She's still holding the rifle, and her hands are still shaking.
Catherine just pulls the horse up to a complete stop. The horse is panting from the sprint, and she doesn't say anything. She just watches Windrith.
Windrith has that 1,000-yard stare. She's back in her home country. She doesn't see you. She doesn't know you're there.
She looks back toward the carriage, recognizes the carriage now. It clicks that it's Ludwig's carriage. And she gets off the horse. And she approaches Windrith slowly. She has a very naked expression on her face, very bare. It's a little bit vulnerable. It's a lot like forward. Her heart is going out to Windrith. There's a connection on her face just waiting to be made. And she reaches out her hand and touches Windrith's hand where it rests on the bottom of the rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Windrith.
Windrith kind of that touch, it kind of brings her back to reality, but slowly. Everything is still very, very slow. And her hand's still kind of shaking. She just starts lowering the rifle. And when she lowers the rifle, she doesn't say anything. She doesn't make any noise, but tears just start coming down her face.
Catherine looks a little, there's a moment of like a fear of just being taken completely aback and not knowing what to do when Windrith starts crying. And then she just sort of finishes lowering the rifle and hugs her.
Yeah, at that point, Windrith just drops the rifle to the ground and she just starts sobbing and just kind of hugs Catherine. And at this point, I would say like Connor and her mom probably come outside and they all help you guys inside.
Yeah, likely just Connor.
It's not all that long ago.
Connor,
that
yeah,
Windrith
mom might be
held
inside with the
Catherine while she was sobbing.
Yeah, it was probably a very similar moment that you had. Yeah.
And that is not lost on her. She sees the kids come running out and she's like, go back inside. Just give us a minute.
Connor, kind of the oldest, looks over to Windrith looking for like a confirmation of anything.
And she just gives him like a nod.
He nods and he kind of ushers the boys inside, and the little one gripes a little bit, but he gets him back inside.
Once the kids are inside and the door is shut, Catherine just kind of turns Windrith's shoulders a little more toward her, so she's looking at her, and she says, "Wyn, what happened? Did he hurt you?"
She looks at you and she says, "I think you hurt Pa."
Her lips kind of thin, and she thinks of her own family in that moment, and she understands that in some ways that's worse than hurting herself. And she says, "There's more than one way to bury a man."
She says, "I know it." She says, "I'm afraid we won't be able to stay here for long. We probably need to leave very soon."
The carriage house is open. We don't have anyone visiting for another 4 weeks. We can put you up until we can find something else. It'll be all right, Wyn.
She looks at you and she says,
I owe you
You-
much more.
she lets out a deep breath and she says, "We'll cross that road when we get there. I made you a promise and I intend to keep it. I'm going to win you a horse race."
She looks like she wants to say more, say something like to pursue the fact that this is an urgent problem and she's offering help. But she knows that Wyn needs this right now. And she understands that pride. She has it herself. So she kind of purses her lips and she just gives her a firm nod.
She goes inside. She says a few words to her family. And then she comes back outside to meet you and she says, "Well, we're losing daylight. Best be going."
I brought Maid if you want to ride her to the grounds.
She kind of wipes the mud and the dirt and the tears from her face, and she lets out like a big genuine smile. And she goes up to the horse and she strokes its mane, and then she like grabs its mane in her hand and she pats the horse on the neck and she whispers something in her native language into the horse's ear, and then she just swings up onto the back of the horse like yeah.
As when you hop up onto the back of the horse,
Edith.
I was just gonna say, what are the middle brothers' names?
So the youngest
So
is
many of
Philip.
them.
We have Owen is 8, Daniel is 11, and Connor is 17.
Okay, so it would be Daniel. Daniel kind of pokes outside really quick, and you would have mentioned that you were going to the race tonight, earlier,
Yes.
right?
Yep. And I basically made sure that Dad was all squared away and
So
relayed
Daniel,
what I learned to Connor. Yeah.
Daniel comes out. He sees you on the horse, and he is carrying what looks like a bundle of cloth. And he kind of gives like a slight bow to Catherine, and then just holds up the bundle. And
I already know what it
Windrith,
is.
This is.
I already know what it is. I'll
do
wear
you?
it. I'll wear it.
It's your
Is it-
dad's old riding coat.
Oh, okay. I thought it would have been my uniform, but that makes sense. She
From
says
when he used to be a horseman, and he just holds it up to you.
she grabs it and she says, "You're a good man, Daniel. You're a good boy, Daniel. You'll be a good man." And she takes the coat and she unceremoniously she like holds it for a quick sec and then she like dons it as she's on the back of the horse. And she feels the shoulders and how it fits in the arms and the sleeves. And it's a fairly heavy piece of clothes. It's meant to keep you warm and safe from the weather, but it just has a tremendous weight to it. It has the weight of her family, of their history, of her people,
Honor.
of her home, of sacrifice, and it weighs heavily on her. But at the same time, she breathes deeply, and she feels like for the first time in a long time that she's ready to bear that weight, and it sits comfortably on her.
and although it's not visible on the coat, you can just feel it on one of the inside pockets, is a medal that you were given at the end of the war. You didn't want to keep it for yourself. You wanted to make sure your dad had it. And he put it in the inside pocket of his chest, so it was always close to his heart. Because that's his
Medal
girl.
for gallantry.
So even with his jacket on, your sacrifice and your work is still there too. And Daniel
That's awesome.
kind of gives a little nod and heads back inside.
That's awesome. All right, Edith. Top it. No pressure.
Yeah.
So I'm actually thinking this would be, because what I had planned is actually, it's going to be rough. So
It's going to be rough.
So
Am I just gonna be like an awkward third wheel? Because like I'm getting the horse that Windrith borrowed. I'm getting on that
well,
one.
no, because if the two of you were getting ready to head to the race, right? That's the plan.
Yep, getting late in the day.
Maybe you guys leave before Edith gets there, because I'd love to have a scene where like Edith tells her coach driver to stop over for a second, overlooking some, like pastoral hills and things like that. And she just needs a moment because she just came from the Ives estate where she told Paul, "You'll be my rider. I couldn't find Windrith," and like she's realizing that like she stopped at Windrith's house on the way there, and it wasn't like the society she knows. She wasn't received. Nobody there was like, there was two children. It was like, what am I doing
reality
here?
of
You know what I mean? Like she was like, what am I doing here? Right? And
monologue.
Monologue. Do it.
Monologue.
I can't spend one. I already spent one.
I know we've already spent 2 monologue tokens.
So, but
Save 2 for the finale. What do we do?
Yeah,
So-
let's save some for the
Okay. Well, I'll still give a basically a mini one. Is where like Edith is. There's expectations. She's been raised to expect a certain thing, and is raised to, not having the life she's known would be. She can't even conceive it. And stopping at Windrith's is like nice for a moment, where she's just like, look at these dirty little kids, like how quaint. But then like the realization hits, and she's like, what? Like they don't understand anything though. You know what I mean? And so she went to the Ives estate, was immediately received, was immediately seen, you know what I mean? Like tended to. Paul came, she talked
Their
with somebody
gardeners
who,
with white gloves clipping the rose bushes.
like
With the
understood,
samurai
like,
sword.
yeah,
Samurai sword.
Well, actually, you know what? I love, Amber, that you just said rose bushes for Catherine, because this is going to play into what I'm going to say. Like it's the life that she expects to live when she goes somewhere to see someone, and she like these things. And she didn't see Windrith because Windrith is too busy working. Who the fuck works? You know what I mean? Like that's not the point. I am your work. That is what Edith is. You know what I mean? Like she like that is what she expects. And not entirely, but you know what I mean? Like she expects to be lady of the house. Like she's to be kept occupied with certain things, and going to a cottage is not one of them.
Right.
And so she stops over and she's looking over the fields, and she looks over the hills, and she sees the cottages like Windrith's families that have these hardworking families on them. That's not her place. Her place is overseeing those. It's keeping these people complacent and productive. And like, again, in her mind, like that's the life that she's been led to understand. So she takes out a small piece of parchment, and like sits there, and like the carriage driver like drops down like a blanket, and like and she like sits there for a moment, and she writes a letter, because we're not going to have the epistolary phase. And she does this, and seals it with a young kiss, seals it with a tiny tear as it drops on it, rolls it up, and ties a neat little bow from her hair around it with a locket of her hair in it. Why not? That seems appropriate for the time. Cuts it with like whatever, and ties it together, this nice little thing. And she goes back to the carriage driver, and she says, we will be taking a detour. And they go back towards Windrith's family's cottage. It's up to you, Troy and Amber. If I think it'd be even better if I missed you and you're not there, and I hand this and I hand this to one of your brothers, and I say, make sure your sister gets this.
It's Connor that sees you as he.
I like it. It's a punch just waiting to fall. We know it's in there.
Yeah. and I have written a quick little 4-line poem, and we can either end this session on what Edith wrote to Windrith and Windrith will hear. And I think, dramatically speaking, right before the race starts would be like the perfect time to do it. Or we could just read it right before the race starts next time.
I say wait.
Okay.
What do you guys think?
Troy, you're muted.
I like it. I like that leaving that mystery sitting there all until
Yeah.
the session.
Okay.
Like
Cool.
everybody's
Yeah,
wondering with Dread, like, is this a breakup letter? Is this a what? What does it say?
Just
Like,
remember that Catherine said that she had people tending her rose bushes. That's all I will say.
come over here and there's dandelions fucking growing.
Tulips, full circle.
Tulips.
The tulips, the most paled of all the flowers in each plant.
Tulips.
So,
The tulip market.
So Connor takes your letter and he lets you know she will be Windress at the races all night, so it might be a bit late when she receives your letter.
Do your best to see that she receives it as soon as possible.
And then she just gives you more money.
All right. We should be able to get
He's
to her.
Expedite.
They do still have the horse.
They
our
have the horse, yeah. Which
I don't,
Connor-
yeah, and I was gonna say I don't think that in this case Edith wouldn't give the money to like deliver this parcel. Like I think the hair tied in a bow around a letter is like kind of like this is an
It's
important
enough
thing.
to indicate to
Connor,
them that, like,
he's not a man of society, but he understands that.
he's not dumb.
He's not
dumb.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
had the most serious conversations with Windrith over the years.
All right,
Like,
so we'll leave that hanging then. Oh boy.
so
Mm.
as it just starts to hit sunset, and everyone heads to the fairgrounds to
Wait.
prepare.
I'm sorry. Wait, we didn't ever get to see Lord Harcourt's reaction to the letter that he found on the floor.
Let's leave that hanging too.
We're gonna leave that hanging too. Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
There's
that's
so
actually-
many
Continue,
things
Sarah.
for next
Perfect.
So we see
time.
this letter sitting in the hand, then Lord Harcourt picking up the letter on the floor.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
perfect.
opening it.
You leave that
so
letter in
you
hand,
go
and the
cinematic
same thing
line.
is
Hands off the
Lord
letter,
Harcourt in the
picks up the other.
meantime is getting
Windrith
ready
and
to
Catherine
head
riding
out.
side by side.
This
Mhm.
is so good.
And he finds the letter on the ground as he's leaving, and he picks it up and he's like, what's this? And he opens it and he starts reading it.
Damn.
Yeah, perfect.
So
Wild.
we see Connor take the letter, and Edith gets back in her carriage and starts going down the road. Camera kind of goes back, and we see Windrith and Catherine side by side on horseback together heading to the festival. And it kind of pans out further, and you see more and more carriages and horses, and you could just see the horse racing ring in the distance. And then it kind of swerves sideways into the Harcourt estate, where you see Remington has just made his way to the front door, fixing up his coat. He bends down to check his boots, and he sees a letter on the floor. He kind of tilts his head a little, and he picks it up, sees it's addressed to him, and opens it and begins to read.
I like the idea of the final shots, like focusing on people's shoes, because they say so much about them too. Like Catherine and Windrith, and like Catherine's fine riding boots, and Windrith's beaten old fucking whatever the fucks in the
Probably her
stirrups on his
cavalry.
horse.
What were her cavalry
Her brother
boots? Actually,
Connor
she's
in
going
the
to ride,
beaten
but they're
shoes,
just
like
beating the
stepping
shit.
up on the farm
Yeah.
horse.
Mhm.
Lord Harcourt's fine polished shoes as he reaches down to grab the letter. Like,
Good stuff.
And that is where we will end it for this
Oh,
episode of Good
So good.
Society.
So awesome.
oh my god.
Oh my
That was
god.
so good, guys. That was amazing.
Brady, you're muted.
I can't wait to be in chat tomorrow and just
I
be
know.
like, I hope people
fucking
are
nailed it.
going bonkers on their show.
Yep.
Oh my
That's
god.
great.
This ending was phenomenal.
So
like crazy. This whole
Why don't
episode
you
was
take
so
us
good.
out, Sarah, and we can.
So
Yeah.
so here's the thing. You guys are gonna have to wait a bit longer for the ending,
That's fine.
because our next session, what would be our next session, I will be in California.
Oh, okay.
So this is
professional con shit.
I am presenting at a conference in California because I'm a professional and I don't know, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that means Happy Fun Times has to wait
Wow, like a whole month.
a month to end Good Society, and I'm so
Shit.
sorry.
We'll do a
Yeah,
one
we're gonna have
shot.
to rewatch our shit to get into it again.
Really.
Well,
Okay,
do we,
well,
well, let me ask: do we want to record again to do it?
I
Oh, I
won't
guess-
have time.
she's gonna be in
Okay.
California the whole
Fair
time.
enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Fair enough.
leave
Okay.
on. I'll be leaving on the Wednesday, and we'll
Okay.
be getting ready all week. So
No
I'll
problem.
be panicking for my presentation.
No problem.
One
do a
shot
one-shot.
madness.
Yeah. One
There will be a
Yeah.
one shot at that time. And when we figure out exactly what will be happening and who's around, we will share that on all of our social medias.
A month to wait on this letter.
I
Oh my
know.
God.
Oh
I
my
know.
Just the
God.
timing. It was bad timing,
Yes.
unfortunately.
And these letters. It
Randy's
sucks the
like,
most
"My
for our live
faith in
viewers
your
and
heart."
current followers. Those of you who are just going to binge watch whole episodes, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're
Just
fine.
binge watch whole series.
But us, we're struggling.
We're
Gonna kill
No
He
me.
shit.
has to live it. Damn it.
No shit.
But thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Good Society. And as Randy said earlier, I hope you guys can see why I gush about this system so much, and why it is so much fun for me, both as a player and a facilitator, and a fan of Jane Austen.
And a fan of Story Brewers, please go support them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not only do they
have a bunch
this
of other good
amazing
games.
game,
Yeah.
they just recently successfully funded a sports anime game, which follows kind of the same vein of like storytelling prompts like they do
Yep.
with this. And I will be running that because I love sports animes. So
Mm.
fair. in the future.
Hey, Sarah, who's watching this, put the link to Story Brewers in Twitch chat, you fuck. Making work for myself in the future.
I'll put it in the podcast episode as well, and you
Perfect,
can
thank
put it
you.
up with the YouTube video.
Oh my God.
You want me to
It's
yell
not
at myself?
Asper.
Do you want me to yell at myself in ASMR?
Remind yourself.
Oh my God. No, there's
Hey,
okay.
hey, future Sarah. Hey, future
Whoa.
Sarah, hanging out in chat. Go ahead and post that Story Brewers link, you little fuck. Thanks.
Hey Sarah, can you do the whole outro just in a really
I
nice
feel like
smooth
we need to
ASMR?
cut this all out.
Let's do the outro.
Where's noises?
Hey,
Tell us
hey,
where they
thanks.
can follow us.
Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of DMs After Dark. You can find us on any podcast episode worth their salt. And what else does Sarah say?
Something about
All right.
Twitter,
I'm taking this shit show on the road.
Facebook.
Thank you, everyone, so much for watching this week's episode of DMs After
We love
Dark.
you.
We are very sorry, but we love you very much. You can follow us on all of our social medias at DMs After Dark. You can also email us one-on-one at dmsafterdark@gmail.com to tell us how much you hate us. We accept.
Subscribe for more horse noises.
please consider
so
following
bad.
the channel if you want to watch more. Subscribe to our YouTube, and if you have some extra Bezos money to throw at us, please consider subscribing to our Twitch. It really does help us. Listen to our podcast between this, Modified Roles, and 1d6, 1d4. We're going to be coming out with a lot more podcast content. Please give them a listen, review, rate. We love it. It means a lot to us. We're sorry.
Until
the
next
perfect
time,
ending.
Until next time, stay
Until
The
ASMR.
worst ending.
Goodbye.
I
Bye.
hate all of you
Bye,
people.
everyone.
I know, me
Goodbye.
too. Bye.
Goodbye. This is why I can't run games for these
They're gonna have
assholes.
no context for all the ASMR shit.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
Oh, you guys.
Horrible to say.